Don't you dare touch that dial. This is Big Dave Z, everybody. I'm going to cry, whip, and wail. Plus, I got 1,000 messages for y'all. But first of all, I want to ask that dude with 2 fingers missing on his right hand a big question. Man, why, baby? Please leave the ladies alone. Ripper, leave them alone. Episode 182.
So that's our new introduction. We just decided, why wait till 200? Why wait till like a even, like, well, it is an even number, but like, usually it'd be like, like a 200, 250, something 150 would change up the thing. Nope. 182 is when all right goes out the window, and we start with this.
All it took was New York Ripper, and I was just so inspired by that DJ. I said, man, this is the kind of enthusiasm I should come in with. Enthusiastic and cool at the same time, which is kind of me in a nutshell. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to try to say, don't touch that dial and all that hip shit.
I guess it's better than all right.
I could have done that. You're right. Oh, yeah. See, there you go. That's good too. Shit. So yeah, 182. What's up, everybody?
182.
Yeah, boy, I don't know. It seems like it's been a while. Has it been a while, or does it seem like
it has been a while? No, it has been a while because we talked about getting one out while we were both off.
Right.
But we didn't do it. I don't know what happened. I know you were in Fishland for fucking, it would seem like 3 weeks, but you were seeing fish, and I was painting the house. That's all I know. I did a lot of painting this week, and I just took one day and I just said, fuck, man, I am so behind on 2022 horror films. It was starting to feel like it was like a weight on me, even though this should be enjoyable. I'm like, I really have to start catching up on shit. So I think I've watched like 6 now. So I feel
really? Wow.
I feel like 6 more, not 6 in total, 6 more.
Oh, I know that.
So now I feel a little better. But still a ton to watch, obviously. And I've made a master list of ones that are available or that are coming soon or that we suspect will come this year as the list that I think I'm going to follow. And of course, if any surprises pop up, I'll add them to the list. But I think I'll be coming in, more like what you're trying to do or accomplish. I think I'm going to hit 60 tops. But it's going to be, I'm not going out of my way to anymore to watch shit. Like I did watch a few shitballs earlier this year, but
it'll happen.
I'm trying just to focus on the ones I'm hearing, great things about, and go from there.
Well, you've done a lot more than I have then. I mean, as far as movies are concerned, because I haven't watched a 2022 movie since I saw Nope at the theater. So I'm pretty sure I slowed down. I slowed down a little bit in my 1980 movies. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to do something where I'm watching, an 80, where I'm watching a 2022, and then where I'm watching a movie that may or may not be qualifying for my top 100. Because after I made my top 100, I started thinking about some other things. And I was like, man, there are some movies out there that I know are highly touted, and I just maybe haven't watched them in years. And then there's some other ones that I'm like, man, these movies are really groundbreaking at the time, what they did and what they inspired. Maybe they should make a list based on that because of how important they were. And then I started...
Well, important is different because then that goes into... That doesn't become your favorite, right?
You're right.
So that's exactly it. Like, this is the ongoing question. Important, I think you just proved the point finally, is that, yes, Nosferatu was an important film, and then they're talking about that other one, the buggy from hell or whatever, the demon buggy. I don't know.
The Phantom
Carrot. Yeah.
The buggy from hell. It sounds like it's a live ripoff.
I haven't seen it. Everybody said I should check it out, but I can tell you, I will be shocked if it blows me away to the extent that it will now be put on my list, because then that means I've outed a movie or booted off a movie that I've held in such high regard, or I love, and I've seen multiple times and whatever. See, I think part of this list will be, because of the people that are putting this list together, very few are going to be people that watch the movie once, and that's it. There's a handful, because I think, like, even Watson now sounds like he rewatches films. But I remember once upon a time he mentioned he's not big into rewatches. or revisiting movies. So he will typically do the one watch done. But I would assume that the ones that he rewatches, for the most part, other than for podcast prep, are because they mean something to him or hold a special place in his heart. And I think that's what this list is going to be. The movies that hold a special place in our heart. Like, again, would talk till I'm blue in the balls, as I'm doing right now, with Friday the 13th. I love it. You love it.
Yeah, we do.
But I mean, it's been critically, from a mainstream critic, been just like destroyed over the years.
Well, of course.
Over the years. But we seem to see something else in it. But then there are other horror fans that can't stand it. And that's it. That's personal taste and personal preference. And you can't help avoid that when critiquing a film. You can't.
Right. No.
Because it's still going to be your personal viewpoint on that direction or that cinematography, because you're not a cinematographer, you're not a director, you're a film critic or whatever. And I'm talking about the mainstream critics. So there's always going to be a personal spin. But then you get those ones that you would say lightning in a bottle, or the ones that seem to be more universally accepted. Like, if you're going by this year, The Black Phone would be the best movie of the year, just based on hoopla.
Yes, him. You're right, I guess, because it does seem to be all over the place and have a lot of ratings, and I still haven't watched it yet. But I will. See, I got these movies on my shelf because I know I have a feeling that I'm going to at least enjoy them enough. So I'm like, okay, let's save these for special times, and if I have a cold run or something or whatever. I just, for some reason, when I know everybody's loving something, I tend not to run out right away unless it's a theater experience. But if it doesn't have to
I need it to cool. I need it to cool down, and then I can go just focus on it and not feel like the hype. I went out with Malignant. That's probably why I still haven't gone back to see that again, because everybody was blowing it left, right, and center. I'm like, I can't wait, and I don't know. I just was like, this is an abomination. Yes, I'm using that term. I was shocked at how much I disliked that movie when I saw it. I was just shocked. Flabbergasted. I have a source right here. I was flabbergasted.
There you go. There he is. Flabbergasted.
But the sadness. Eric Webster talked about this eons ago. So did Brian and Jamie. People love it. This has been waiting for me to watch on Shudder for months, and I haven't watched it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that was going to be one of the ones I was going to watch this week, and I still said, let me get to this one first. It's like I'm almost just like waiting, because I'm expecting that I'm going to love it, so I'm just waiting. I don't know why I do this to myself, but I'm waiting.
Me too. It's the same thing. I'm hoping I'm going to love it. I'm expecting that I at least I'm not going to watch it, and it's going to be a waste of my time, where I wouldn't think that it's at least a 7 or higher. That's just the way I feel. But if everybody likes it, it's going to be pretty rare that I'm going to put it on and be the one guy to hate it. The only time that would happen is if it was a typical I can't even talk still. Not typical. A particular type of movie that was like a Goofy or something. Like let's talk about, what do you call it? Phantom, whatever the hell his name was, Gorman. Okay, Psycho Gorman, right? So
he was
Psycho
in the carriage.
Gorman.
He was in the baby carriage.
That's it, Phantom That's right. It's a combination. Oh, that's amazing. Phantom Gorman. There should be a spinoff between the
Psycho Carriage.
Right. Oh, Psycho Carriage actually kind of sounds good. But the Killer Baby, that's more of a cheap Killer Baby sounding thing. Psycho Carriage, like Psycho Cop. Which, how ridiculous is it that they had a maniac cop and they turned around and made a movie called Psycho Cop? When you were a kid and you saw that, am I the only asshole that sees something like that?
Oh, yeah.
That's an obvious stupid rip-off movie. It's not going to be good. Is the first?
Yeah, but I like Maniac Cop 1 and 2. I don't know which one. If both of them are out by the time Psycho Cop came out, I can't remember the time frame. But I did watch Psycho Cop, and it was brutal. I remember thinking it was horrible. But then I watched Psycho Cop Returns, and I actually remember liking it. Now, I've revisited it since, and I'm like, why did I like this? But I remember it being almost like it was goofy. Took place in a high rise, and it was just a little bit more extreme. It had, gore, and it was a little bit more fun, I guess. But I don't know if that's a recommend. But definitely better than Psycho Cop. I agree with what you're saying.
So you do agree. So when you were able to have that discerning eye as somebody renting, VHS during the heyday, or to come across a movie like, okay, whether or not you liked Maniac Cop or didn't, the fact is a movie like called Maniac Cop already exists, right? It got it got a little attention. It came to the theater. It was in Fangoria. It was a known title at the time. I didn't even see it yet because I didn't really care about a cop. So what do I care about a cop killing? So anyway, it just didn't really
The
it didn't
rationale.
track. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, no, but I share similarities to you, buddy. Like
Okay.
the cover art, like there's certain cover arts that you thought, or names of movies that, like Fright Night, for instance, that we're not hot on, but the cover art in that name, I was like, I wanted to see that movie, couldn't wait to see it. But for a lot of times, I will. There's a combination. How does this cover look? What's the back art look like?
The read.
Who's the distributor? And I would look at some of those things, and you sort of, but I've definitely rented, whether by accident or on purpose, a lot of stinkers over the years.
Oh yeah,
but I definitely avoided a lot as well by doing that. But I went out of my way to try to find more obscure ones, and like when I fell in love with the Toxic Avenger, anything that was in that realm, so that led me to Trauma, right? So then I went down the whole Trauma rabbit hole, or anything that was Trauma-esque, which usually was not good. Usually.
Right. They were more one and done movies. You can go, you can laugh, watch them with buddies and this and that. They weren't something that you're going to look back upon and want to keep and say, okay, this is going to go on my tape with Dawn of the Dead and Evil Dead or something like that. It wouldn't be that caliber. But the Psycho Cop thing, you see that movie on the shelf, right? That's what I'm trying to figure out here. Was I the only guy in whatever influence I had on my friends rented, that when I see something like that, knowing that there's already a Maniac Cop, that another movie comes out a year later or whatever, and it's called Psycho Cop, am I the only guy that looks at that and looks and thinks that it's going to be a shitball because it's like a ripoff in so many ways? Or do you see that and say, oh, now there's a Psycho Cop? I've always been in the mind state that when I see something that's an obvious a ripoff that's so poor that they have to do that, just like anytime a movie compared itself to the Freddy, to the Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween or Jason, it was an automatic turnoff to me. Even as a kid, I'm like, well, those movies didn't have to compare themselves to anything.
As you like to say, I was a mark. I would say that more times than not, I'm like, I was aware of it. I'm not saying I was oblivious to what they were doing or whatnot, but I think there was intrigue. Oh, let me see. Did they succeed? And more times than not, they did not succeed. But now and then you might find one that was like, wow, that's actually was a surprise. I can't think of one off the top of my head right now. Oh, I guess I mentioned Psycho Cop Returns or Psycho Cop 2.
There you go. It's a gem.
I enjoyed it comparatively. A gem might be not making my 100 list. Let's put it that way.
Well,
if that list went to 1,000, I'm pretty sure Psycho Cop Returns is not rearing its head in that list.
And then, okay, I wouldn't expect that out of you. I may expect that out of like Dave Parker or somebody, because they just happen to have an affinity towards things like that. And I wish I had that kind of eye, where certain things didn't bother me the way they do with the aesthetic or this or that or whatever. Like anything SOV, I automatically can't.
Yep.
I can only have so much love for it because it's something that I could have done, or in some things that I did do with the VHS and the 80. It's just I just can't get past it.
I have a total bias with that, man. I'm right there with you. I can't watch shot on video. Now, shot on digital or this new wave, what we're seeing, because of the fact that, okay, I get it. It's not film. And I don't want to be raked over the coals, even though really there's not that many people that ever get like into these conversations with us, even after listening to the show. They'll comment on this and that, but never when we get into filmmaking techniques for the most part. But
they believe us.
At least I think it has a closer aesthetic. It's not film. I'm gonna fucking just say that again. But you can now record at 24 frames. You now have a lot more, like the lenses that you use could be exactly what you would use for film. And the cameras now, with resolution and exposure and everything that you're able to do and manipulate with them, now can help mimic how film cameras once were or are. And so that's why, because most of these movies that we're watching in Shudder right now, guaranteed they were shot on like Red or Black Magic. These are just types of cameras that are doing this, or Canon. Like all of they're not shot on film anymore. We know.
No.
I think everybody knows this, but
Sadly.
Tarantino will probably be the one shooting on film, and everybody else is going to be shooting on these, which is just the reality of the situation. And it depends. And every now and then, most of it looks great, and every now and then it will look a little video-y.
Yeah.
Every now and then. But to get back to what you're saying, because I'm rambling today, I guess that's the coffee pouring through my veins. SOV is just, I can't do it. Like the boarding houses, like the boarding house, there's, Blood Cult, like there's a ton of them. There's a ton of them. And I know that, 20, if you want that stuff, go and listen to 22 Shots, because they've covered it. And I think that they actually admire and like it. I do not. I do not.
Me neither. I wish I did. I don't mean to sound like a snooty, person that like it's below me, but I just can't get past the look of it. It's just, you know what it is?
It blows me.
Right. It's like second rate. Right.
Yeah. That's what
it's like this, and this is what I said, and don't get offended. Actually, you won't, because I don't think you care about football whatsoever. But to me, like every like regular movies are like the NFL, right? Football, top of the freaking world, and SOV is basically the CFL. That's my feel. I'm not gonna watch a CFL football game, no matter how, even the best CFL football game.
If you lived in Saskatchewan, you'd watch it for the Rough Riders. But that's it.
That's what it is, right?
I hope it is a Rough Riders. Yeah, I'm even hoping that I got the team right. It is, but it's funny because that's all they've got there. They don't have a national hockey team. They've got the CFL. They've got that's what they've got. But I'm right there with you, man. I watched the Grey Cup when I was a kid a handful of times, and that was it. Like, right. It's just it's a good analogy. It's a good comparison. The reality is, though, it's also just like most of the time they didn't have great scripts either. So let's not talk about that. Like most of the time, and or the acting was very amateurish on top of it because they had no budget, or the effects were not always that great. No, that is relative, because you have the guy that did Zombie 90 Extreme Pestilence, which I had, and again, absolute stinkeroo from a cinematic film quality wise standpoint, but from a gore standpoint was fantastic. But those were few and far between as well.
Right.
Like 555, I think, was shot on video.
I own
maybe
it too.
Video Violence 1 and 2.
Maybe.
Were shot on video.
I always get that one confused with the other one, the Video Dad or something else, and I think
shot on video as well. I'm pretty maybe I'm wrong with that one.
I think
maybe
you're
that
wrong.
one was shot on film.
Because I think Dave Parker recently just told me about it. There was something going on. I think he said Video Dead was I could be wrong, but see, he knows. He knows that stuff. Moods knows it. They're into it, and that's fine. I'm not knocking it. It's like I say. I wish that every time I sat down and watched a movie, I walked away and it was at least a 7 out of 10. Why would I want it to be anything else? Why would I not want to enjoy something? Some people like to not enjoy because they like to critique because it makes them sound smarter. Or they think that it makes them sound smarter when they can pick apart inferior type filmmaking or something like that. I don't get off on that thing. I just want to watch movies and enjoy them. And if I already know I'm not going to enjoy a movie, the aesthetic of it and this and that, it's just not going to be for me no matter. I just can't. But back to the top 100.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, say what you were going to say, please.
No, I agree with you, man. Maybe I guess there's a fan out there that will venture and like Dave Parker, though, he doesn't like everything. No one likes everything.
Of course not.
Because I've seen him go off, and I think it was the Purge franchise that he absolutely hates, I'm sure there's other things, and so you'll get that, because as you say, there's a fan for everything, as we've mentioned on the show as well. So there's a fan for everything that's been made out there. Someone's gonna like it, even though others will fucking hate it, and then there's like you got this with these subgenres. That I don't know if I guess we'll have to say shot on video is sort of its own little subgenre, and there's a ton of fans for it out there. But I will definitely say no, I'm not a believer. I'm a hater when it comes to that.
Hey, well,
Hater might be strong. I will not even
yeah.
give it my time. Put it that way.
It's fine, and neither will I. But ultimately, like it's like we say, to each their own, and so be it. And for every toilet seat, there is an ass. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It just is the way it is. But I will say this: over the last year or so, specifically, I have really learned how much of a difference everybody's tastes are. Like to the maximum. Like I'm to the point now that nothing surprises me. I think sometimes some people like to tout certain types of movies or put down other types of movies just to like establish some sort of a personality. Like someone's gonna say, I'm the guy that loves this. I love Asian horror and I hate Hollywood horror, and they don't want to be associated with everything. And I do see that there is some of that, but for the most part, most people just like what they like, and they're just into what they're into. And there's that old phrase: "There's no accounting for taste." It doesn't have to be an insult when someone terms that phrase, because I think people look at it that way, but it's really not. I just look around and I'm seeing some top 100 lists, and I'm seeing this and that. I'm like, wow, these people really like this that much, or this guy loves this, or this woman is into this. It's just there's so many things that nothing surprises.
I love how
me.
you didn't want to. You had to. This guy like this. Oh wait, I don't want to leave out the ladies. This woman like that.
Right. And I didn't say girl either. I didn't want it to be demeaning, the girl, because girls sound. But that is how I talk, guys and girls, or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the thing is, taste is so crazy now that it's just like I don't even question it anymore. When someone tells me that their favorite movie from this year is this, it no longer shocks me. I've grown to be so accepting of all these tastes, because I know specifically the last like 2 or 3 years, I have really been high on some movies that other people just do not like. So I know that I might have oddball taste to them in some ways, and everybody can't like the same thing. But that's okay though. I mean, I don't mind. I'm not. At least I'm not shoving it down your throat and this and that, and where you get sick of it, and I that becomes my identity, where I can't stop talking about freaking some movie that I thought a gem from 2 years ago that I give a 9, and everybody else thought it was a turd. I'm not doing things, but then I'm not really on socials anyway. Oh, speaking of socials, I got to talk about that. I resurrected the. Well, I didn't resurrect anything. I wish I could resurrect it, because what happened was when I went off socials. When you have Facebook and when you have Instagram, you could basically delete yourself for an amount of time. They try to get you to choose between 1 and 7 days. And I never do it. And I delete all the time. I come on, I activate for a day, I delete for a month or so. So, but when you delete, they give you the option. It's like anywhere between 1 and 7 days, or there's the option that says don't automatically, put me back in or something like that. So you decide when you want to come back by signing into your Facebook. Same thing goes for Instagram. So that's what I was able to do. Now, Twitter's a little different. You shut down your Twitter for 30 days. You can do that, but you have to log in at some point. If you go more than 30 days, I believe was the number, and you don't log in, you lose your Twitter forever. And that's what happened to Exploding Heads Twitter. So it's gone. And at first I was kind of over the whole, thing that I would do as far as like advertising for the podcast. And I felt we reached as far as we were going to go. Now we're just going to focus on Patreon and hopefully try to get this movie made and all that other stuff. And I was like, okay, this is a good reason to get off. I don't have to push the podcast too hard anymore. We got a pretty good audience. Everything's cool. Let me just chill out. So that was that's what kept me on for the last year. I was like, man, I don't want to do this because I got the podcast. But eventually I was like, you know what? Life is too short. I'm gonna be miserable online because of the podcast. Then it's defying freaking the purpose. It's supposed to make me happy doing this. And it does, especially now. So I got rid of it.
You mean with Brandon not here? I'm kidding.
Do with that.
It makes me happy. especially now.
We don't got to deal with Brandon. How long's it been? Right.
Yeah.
Which,
Great.
Speaking of that, no, I'll bounce around. I'm too many bounce. This is how
Yeah, sorry. I that's my fault.
It's me. No, you got to have you got to crack wise. So Twitter. So I just redid my Twitter because I was talking to somebody recently, and they're kind of active on the Twitter with their podcast, and there's a lot of networking going on there. So I wanted to start up a Twitter, redo another one, just not go crazy with it. So hold on, where the hell is it now? I just did it yesterday. It's so far gone, I can't even find it on my phone. Good Lord, Twitter.
What's your new handle? At Dave Z Mudflap?
No.
Sorry.
No. Okay, let's see.
No.
So let's see. So I followed a bunch of podcasts yesterday. Friends of the podcast. Who is this girl? Why is she on my thing? Do you like my Pokemon? Why does this come up?
Well, what do you think?
I'm not following anything sexual. If I were following, models or cam girls,
what did she? Do you like her Pokemons?
That's what it says. Entertainment. Yeah, baby hot more. Do
just
you like
type
Pokemon?
no.
And move on. No, I don't.
Yeah, no.
What's happened? Okay, so now it's okay. Now this is what it is. Yesterday I followed 39 and 11 followed me back. So we're getting somewhere. But it's just called at Heads Horror now. HEADSHORROR. Heads Horror.
You can't reclaim your old site. I swear I went in and I ended up having my old Twitter from that, and I personalized it and relaunched it, but I don't really use it. I go on it because I'm shocked how many people use Twitter still. Like, I'll go to a news thing and they're quoting Twitter. I'm like, really? I thought Twitter was dead. Like, I honestly thought Twitter was dead. I was like, even like when Elon Musk was like, I want to buy it for $44 billion. I'm like, why? $44 billion? Why? And I think even he questioned it after because he never pulled the trigger on the thing.
Is that what happened?
It seems so stupid. I thought, I'm paraphrasing, but yes, and I'm sure there's repercussions from it now because I think it was supposed to be like a done deal. It almost sounded like it was like a spit and a handshake, and it was supposed to be happening. And then he's like, nah, don't feel like doing it anymore.
Oh, so who owns Twitter? Some unknown person?
Oh, the same people that are the same group that I guess
whoever they were
does. I don't fucking know. I don't know the ins and outs.
Right. No, I hear you. I just figured it was a new.
All I know is that remember when Elon Musk didn't speak out constantly about things? And he was just the guy that did started PayPal back in the day and then did this thing with the electric cars.
Is that
Tesla? Remember when it was just that?
Oh, that's him?
Yeah, but now he is constantly fucking talking. He's almost like he's got to be like, he's like the Trump of social media. It's almost like every day he's got to have something else to say. I'm like, just fucking get the Cybertruck out fucking finally. Do what you're supposed to be doing and stop with the Twitter and stop with the social media and stop about making fun of this, that, and the other thing. Just fucking work.
Yeah.
It's the richest guy in the world. You don't know who he is? The richest guy in the world.
I know he's rich. I know he owns things. I didn't know what he owned. Like, I get all those guys confused. Musk and what's his name? Joe Bezos and freaking the other guy.
Yeah, Bezos.
Whatever the hell their name is. What's his name? Joe Bezos? What? No.
It's B-E-Z-O.
B-Z-O?
No. Yeah, Big B-Z-O. Yep. Joe Bizzetto. Yeah, he's Italian.
Yeah, you said Bizzetto. What are you talking? Joe Bizzetto. Hey, you see my friend over here, Joe Bizzetto. We're going to the racetrack later on. On the way, we'll pick up some cannolis. Let's go. You want some coffee for the ride? Me and Joe Bizzetto. Yeah. We're going. He
owns Google, right?
I don't know what he owns. I just know he owns something, Amazon or some shit, maybe. Yes, either way, I don't pay attention to these rich folks.
He owns Yahoo.
I don't care to know who they are. How is it going to benefit my life to know any of that stuff? At the
True. I get it, but it's just that like this, I feel like you can't avoid it. It's almost like it's always out there. He's always saying something stupid. I mean, maybe it's because I follow the
Musk is?
Yeah, Musk.
Okay. He's saying stupid things.
Anyway.
I didn't know this. Well, see, again, I'm not on socials and I don't watch the news. So if nobody tells me, like you or somebody at my work that happened to see something, how am I going to know? Or maybe my wife, but she probably doesn't pay attention or anything like that. So it's like, if nobody tells me, I'm not going to know. And now that I'm not on social, see, now this Twitter thing, now I'm already getting a little uneasy feeling in the stomach because now you talk about this. Just the thought of hearing somebody speak out like what you were saying about this muscat doing all this stuff. You know what I mean? I don't even want to be privy to it. Yeah, muscat, not a muskrat, a muscat. But I don't even want to be privy to that because if I see something like that once on this Twitter thing, which I'm just trying to use for a little bit of marketing, well, I don't know. I may not last very long. I just don't have a desire to see this stuff, to know this stuff. Like
when I joined, I put in our groups about the slasher social media thing. I mean, it is another social media thing.
Oh, that's
but
right.
I mean, I feel like they've done a decent enough job. But I mean, I joined it, didn't really do much. I just sort of navigated through it. There's not too much to see. It's like there's a feed, and like you're bloody disgusting, and whoever else will have things running through it. I'm sure it will grow. There's a lot of horror fans on there. And if you only want horror and you don't want all the politics and bullshit, it might be a great, option.
So let me ask you this. People are on there. There's a feed like a Facebook, and they can only post horror things. What's to stop somebody from posting a political link? Is there do they have something about block on there?
You know what? Good question, but I'm sure based on how they say what the few rules that they have are, they have way less censorship actually than Facebook does, as well. But we'll see how that all, comes together. Right now, it seems like based on what I've seen, it's all pretty straightforward. Like people just with their goofy masks or posting about a movie they've watched, and all that shit. You know what I mean?
I like that. That's what I want it to be.
It's literally as if you went into your Facebook news feed and it was just horror constantly, as opposed to everything that you've linked to that you've liked, which in some cases might just be horror for some people, but a lot of cases it's not. There's more to it. So far so good. We'll see what happens. I mean, there's I think Rue Morgue has something to do with it. So there's like right now I'm looking at an ad to subscribe to Rue Morgue magazine, but then it will be like no different than Facebook, where every fifth post will be some sort of advertisement, but it's horror related.
Right. No, that's fine. That's that I can dig it, and that's something I can play with like once a week. Just a tiny bit and get on there. That could be something. It's just so hard to avoid because everybody puts their politics into everything nowadays. Like even yesterday on Twitter, I was just like trying to follow some old accounts that I followed in the past, and I was just playing around for a few minutes. And I saw two different things, and they both equally, aggravated me because, like, one, like right in the description of their podcast, they call themselves something about the left and they're horror fans or something like that. I'm like, well, now you've already alienated half your potential audience. Yeah, why do you have to identify or even talk about it on your show? Which is fine, but whatever, that's their choice. Then I saw another person talking about, he puts conservative in capital letters, and again, it's a horror person. It's a horror news or a horror related thing. But this person that operates has to go out of his way to talk about conservative this and hashtag this.
Like the worst marketing known to man. I mean, you're right. Seriously. I mean, I see what they're trying to do, but you've just fucking alienated again. Unless the whole point of the show, their whole structure has this leaning, whether it be left or right. I mean, we've had segments where it would go that way, but we try to avoid.
Yeah, certainly.
It's difficult in some cases, but we've tried to avoid.
We're good, anyway, I think, at it.
Biden sleeps through fireworks. That's what remember I told you last summer when I drove down. It was the weirdest, most random thing. I think I brought it up on the show again, but I'm going to say it, just so that we hit both, because I made a Trump joke earlier. This will be a Biden joke, but this is a true story. We're driving down through fucking New York State and getting down to Jersey, and there was a fucking bulldozer, like a decrepit old bulldozer, parked at the side of the road in front of someone's house and spray painted on like the, I don't know the term, but the lift, the front portion of it. was spray painted.
Scooper?
Biden's, the scooper, the pooper scooper. Biden sleeps through fireworks.
That is funny.
You can't help but laugh.
Right.
I don't care what political. I was just this fucking.
Right.
What? And I just laugh. So for like now, we've remembered that it's still a joke. Every now and then we'll say it, especially if he pops up on TV. Like,
Right,
that guy, he sleeps through fireworks.
That's all right. See, sleeps through fireworks. Anyway. Nice. But people can't help themselves, and it's too bad. But whatever. I don't even want to think about them. Why would you alienate your audience? It's the ultimate thing. Like I remember, I took my daughter to she was going to meet a doctor at some doctor's office, and next door there was like
Dr. Vinny Boombots. You know my doctor, Dr. Vinny Boombots.
No, Dr. Joe Bagos. Him.
Bizzetto.
Joe Bizzetto, yes. Unreal. Is that a director too named Bagos or something like that?
You're thinking of the guy that has done all those really good low budget, The Mind's Eye.
Yeah.
I think.
What's his name?
Well, let me look it up. But it's not the same because I don't think he's got a Z in his last name. But let me just.
Joe Bagos, Begos. That's the guy I said though that owned Amazon or one of them things.
Yeah.
Whatever the hell it is. But now I'm thinking there's a director with the same name.
It's Jeff.
Whatever the hell it is.
Holy fuck! This is fucking. Anyway,
whoever it is, Joe Bagos, Joe Bizzetto. Anyway, there was a store, a convenience store next to this place, and they had some type of sign in their window. And I forgot what side it was on, but it doesn't matter to me. Bottom line is, I remember I told my daughter right then and there, I go, you see this here? I will never shop at a place like this. And people shouldn't. I go, because you're already alienating. That's the punishment you should get for alienating half of your audience, your potential customers, I should say, by putting your political beliefs in your storefront window. A store is there to make money, and for no other reason.
It's a dumbass reason.
Right, and don't share your things like that because now it's the same thing. Don't do it. So I said I will never support them, even if I believe in what I could walk by, and every belief I have.
One.
What's that?
Business 101. I mean, why would you?
Right.
I mean, that's the problem with everybody now. They want everybody to know their business, but you're a fucking business. Like that's the only business you should be caring about.
True.
And this is what the world is turning into because that's just fucking stupid.
Very.
Like, why would you want to do that? Anyway.
It doesn't. Yeah, but it's just like if I walked by a place and every thought I had about like the top 10 hot button topics in politics, if I walked by a place and everything they posted, I 100% agreed with all 10. I just so happened to, which is probably never happened. But if it did happen, I still wouldn't go in that store. I'd say, well, screw you for making that public. Just like I always say, if I hit the lottery, one of the first things I would do is buy a sledgehammer, and I would find every car that had a political sticker on it, both sides, and smash the fucking windshield and say, fuck you. I'd leave a note. Keep your fucking opinions to yourself and go to the booth on voting day. Fuck you. And I would smash their car. That's if I was that billionaire winner that just happened.
Why if you won a lottery? So that you could pay for the damages after?
Right, just because I wouldn't give a shit. If I won the lottery, I could act and do whatever I wanted to do. Right? I could do. What are you going to do? I would go and do shit.
Again, that would be so low on the list of shit that I'd want to do if I won the lottery. I don't even think it's making any list of shit that I would do, to be honest, if I won the lottery. And I can almost guarantee, maybe other than Jamie. No, Jamie wouldn't even do that. Nobody else listening to the show will be doing that if they won the lottery.
I'd have fun with it, though. I'd eat a gummy. I'd walk around town. I'd be happy. I'm like, yeah, let's
smash VHS tapes. If I smash anything I just buy all the VHS, all the 3 on the meat hooks, and just fucking smash them into oblivion.
Oh, it'd be great, wouldn't it? And post that online. Could you imagine how upset some people would be?
Yeah. No, they don't care. They don't care, Dave. They don't care.
Yeah.
It'll be for you and me. It'll just be for you and me.
Yeah, they don't care. They're in their freaking they're shivering on their couch freaking. They couldn't stand to watch it probably. What are you doing? What are you doing?
No, it's so cringe, man. Look what he's doing. He's so cringy.
Right?
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be fun to take a sledgehammer and just take shit out just because you didn't care? Just because you've always things that like, or people that park at like double spaces that take two spots for their car, or they park in the back of the thing and they park it horizontally, just to do it because they got a special car. I would smash the fuck out of them.
Someone posted this on Facebook again, because everybody likes to tell every fucking bit of their life. So the guy posted that he parked like that. So his argument was, hey, I parked at the very back of the parking lot. So not near a bunch of cars, not near anything, but at the very back of the parking lot, I parked in the middle of two spots. And somebody, and God bless this person, someone parked right beside him, like
the same way.
Shitty, just to park right beside him. Yeah, and he got all mad, going, "Why the fuck?" And then people were like, "Yeah, I can't believe there's people like that saying the other person." But I thankfully, because this was on his feed, just as many people were saying, "I see two assholes here."
Right, that's all I see. Right.
Yeah, like, I mean, why would you even post this, you fucking idiot? Because that's an asshole move. I don't care how far. And it wasn't like he had the fucking nicest car in the world. It was like a Chevette. That wasn't a Chevette, but I mean, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Don't get me wrong. We've all had people ding our cars or whatever like that. Fuck, if I had a Lamborghini, I'd park it wherever the fuck I park it. I'm not going to do that. I would never do that dick move. It's just a fucking dick move. And there's other asshole people out there. I get it. There are people that will bang it and whatever, but God, that's comedy genius. That guy just said, fuck it. That guy still parked way far away, and I'm still, but like an asshole, so I'm going to park right beside him.
That's amazing. I love it. Good.
Yeah.
I would smash them. I would get a sledgehammer. I won the lottery. And I'm telling you, I would smash some shit. I would smash my alarm clock. You might go to jail
for that, though. I wonder, would that be assault on the car?
I don't care. Send me to jail. I just won $1 billion. I'll be out in an hour.
You don't want that to be known. They're going to sue you for everything you got. You'll end up with chiclets afterwards. I don't even know.
True. Well, you keep your mouth shut about your money. You just do what you do. Right. I mean, that's another thing.
If anybody starts smashing cars in the Buffalo area after a big lottery win, don't come looking for Dave.
Right. Yeah. Because I've incriminated myself. Dude, I used to see this one. I used to go to this one store when I worked for AutoZone, and I used to stop at this one store for gas, and I go inside and get a coffee occasionally. And there was a sign in the store that, it was like a typed out thing. This one they made themselves, and it says, and they're trying to be cute, right? But it says on the thing, free ride in a cop car. Just steal something. So I always said if I fucking hit the lottery, I would go in there and steal something, wait for them to call the cops, and if they quit, I go, well, it says free ride in a cop car. I'm excited to do it, so you asked for it. I did what you asked. I never been in a cop car before. I would just say that just to fucking say, okay, you want to be cute? I'm going to be cute right back at you.
It's a legality. You probably could. I'm sure some lawyer could twist that around that said it was like you purchased by stealing, you abided by the rules that they set in the store.
Right.
Some wacky way of twisting it around that it works in your favor. And you get the free car ride.
Right. That's the problem with my brain, that I always feel by nature.
Just that.
Well,
not the mud flap, not just this.
I just wish I can get rid of this part of my brain where I want to rebel against things like this. I wish I wasn't like that. I wish I didn't see something like that, and my first thought isn't what it was. Like, man, I wish I could just come in here and steal something and this, call their bluff on it and see what happens. I go, well, this is what you said. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I'm the same way too. You just verbalize it. See, I might not say every thought, but that's what I love. That's why people love you. It's because you're so open and honest about it that you just say what is on your mind. I'm sure, as I've mentioned, I've had these thoughts too. Maybe not smashing windshields of everybody that double parked, but yeah, or whatever that I had the political beliefs put out there. But similar, like the thought went through my head. Like, it's more just why. Why do you need to put the sign on your fucking lawn? Like, why can't you just vote the way you want to vote?
Right,
like,
man.
Why? Like, what? And then your house gets aged because someone has a different belief than you, and you're, whoa, I can't believe what happened. Well, I mean, it shouldn't happen, but why would you just put it out there? Why not just say, I have my beliefs, whether it's religion, whether it's whatever, political beliefs, and just live your life. This is what I've been saying. But everybody wants to put their shit on other people. I think
you're right.
I mean, we made jokes about it too. Like, but we're talking about fucking movies. Like, I can't believe you like this fucking thing or whatever. But at the end of the day, we're talking about a fucking movie.
Right. That's it.
This is like something that like kind of shapes a little bit more. These are people's core values and beliefs. I'm not going to shit on anybody if they believe in like in God or whatever religion.
No, why would I?
I don't care. This is
Right.
like again like not that I don't care again because that sounds like I just don't give a shit. I just don't. It doesn't affect me. I only deal with what affects me and my immediate family in the
Yeah,
sense
you
of
do you.
we want to do. And if my kids say I want to go to church, I'm like, power to you.
Right. If
You're
you don't
going
want to
alone,
go,
power to you.
right. That's okay. If you don't want to go, don't go. If they want to go, by all means go. If you're not hurting anybody by doing it, then do what you want to do. It's like anything. And it's just like, why? I don't know. It's like you were saying. Just I've lost my train. Okay. It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen. Like if you put your thing on the front lawn, your political beliefs and this and this and this and someone eggs your house, you are correct. It shouldn't happen that they egg your house. They're in the wrong. You're not necessarily in the wrong for doing it. If you really want to do it, it's not wrong. It's a little bit unnecessary, I suppose. But I mean, you're not wrong for doing it, but you have to be prepared to deal with the fallout because you know what's going to happen. It's the same thing as when you go to bed at night, lock your front door. And if you don't lock your front door, well, then you kind of get what you deserve. And I'm not saying that the people that are robbing you or killing you are in the right or whatever they may do if they come in your house. Obviously, they're wrong. But we know that this is the world we live in, and we're never going to change that. It's never going to happen. You can't change humankind at this point. And you can try to educate all you want, but you can't change certain things. And people like to say things like, you know, we want to teach people to defend themselves against this and this. And then other people saying, well, what we really should be looking at are the people that they have to defend themselves against. They shouldn't have to. Yes, you are right. They shouldn't have to, but they should. They should do it anyway to protect them. Like my daughter. I'd like to have my daughter, in a frame of mind where she's older, where she can carry, pepper spray or this, or even a gun if I wanted her to. I'm not saying I do, but I'd like her to be able to prepare herself, especially she's small and she's thin, to defend herself against men out there. And the people are going to say, well,
AK-47 for sure.
Not that.
I was just giving her an option for what gun to look for.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It is America after all, right? AKs. No, but people want to sometimes say we should teach the men. The problem isn't that. The problem is the men that feel they can go and touch women and do this and harass them and behave in a manner, and that we shouldn't have to. I'm like, well, you can think that, and I'm not saying that. I agree with you. You're wrong, but it doesn't mean that I shouldn't have my daughter prepared. It's the same analogy as leaving your door unlocked at night or your car door if you go somewhere. You just know this is the world you live in. You just got to do it, man. And so what? Don't sweat it. But anyway.
And again, it's not that, because all I'm saying is when people are like, why is everything like that? I'm just saying if we just kept shit to ourselves, but everybody's got to put their own thought process on other people. I'm not saying we can't have discussions, but these are not discussions. These are like things like people trying to egg, like just bug people, just try to get under the skin. Like I feel like everything. Political signs have been for a long time. I'm just saying the vast amount that you see now at any election time is huge comparatively, I think, to back in the day. Now, maybe it's just me being older, and as a kid, I just didn't notice them as much. Maybe, but I doubt it. I doubt it because, like I said, I think the onset of social media and everything else has just made this. I'm going to put every thought I have out for everybody to believe it. Like, say, and then if someone goes against it, it creates like an argument, not a discussion, just an argument. And it causes a lot more friction. But people are doing this on purpose to cause friction. So all the trolls are winning. Unfortunately, and then we're falling for it, or the people that want to respond to it, like my mom, I tell you, what started going on, I said, Mom, you got to stop responding to anything political. You're never going to win because they live off it. They feed off of it. It's like negative. That's what the movie we should make should be. Forget the slasher that we wrote. We should just talk about like just feeding off negative energy and working. Isn't that what, I'm sure there's a movie that's out like that. I think M. Night, that one that he did that was not great. That was Vegetation. That was Nature coming back. Wasn't it?
What, The Happening?
Yeah, The Happening.
The wrenching?
Anyway, I'm trying to relate it back to horror so that we don't.
Okay,
get
I'll bring it
canceled.
back to horror. I'll bring it back to horror. The top 100. I'm going to mention it again because
I
don't have enough submissions. I don't want this to be a flop. There's so much. We need to come up with 200 different movies. We only have so many people, like a dozen or something. We got, and there's like my initial, what we said was it's only a month off now. So, and I guess it could be extended a little bit because of the shows, because we've had a couple months where the shows didn't come out in threes. So now all of a sudden, the show that was supposed to be out in January, it's pushed at least till February now. And I wanted an early date to get everything in just because I was anticipating a lot being handed in like last time and to give myself enough time to do all the math and figure it out. And that's more than enough time. That was like 3-4 months. So, but so I didn't have to kill myself, in 1 week adding everything up. And because truth is, it can be extended. That's fine. Because I keep hearing, little messages and people are saying that they're going to send it and this and that. But we got to get on it. So, but to the top 100, this is my question. I want to talk about this. Like movies nowadays, I do a lot of rewatching, as you know, and especially for the last, since we've been doing the podcast for end of year stuff. I want to make sure I watch it at least twice. So now I have movies that are real high up with like a 9.5. And I have a good decent amount of them for the past, since 2015. I would say at least, I don't know, 15. I probably have that many. But I'm looking at some of these titles and I'm like, do I really believe that The Ritual, which I loved and give it a 9.5, do I really truly believe that this is one of the top 100 movies of all time? Something about some of these recent movies and those high ratings, I ponder that. I don't know if it sits right with me to have something so new be on this top 100 horror movies of all, but yet I have no problem putting The Witch or Midsommar or Hereditary on that list.
Well, then there you go. Then you've just answered probably your own question. But I that's what I was saying. Nostalgia comes into play. There's a bit of weight to The Thing, 82. There's a bit of weight to Dawn of the Dead. They can't be dethroned for me because they're fantastic fucking movies, right? And B, I grew up with them, and so the nostalgia is a fucking bitch to kill. So it's going to play into it. But let's face it, those movies are great. There's only a handful of people that will go look at those now and say, well, no, those are not great movies, or I don't see it, or they're overrated is the big comment that everybody likes to use. But for the most part, I mean, more times than not, what I'll hear more so, at least in the last 5+ years, is that, I much prefer Day of the Dead to Dawn. And okay, no problem. I can't disagree. I love Day of the Dead too. But Dawn is like the one I put up there, but I love Day. Like Day both of them will probably be on my list. In fact, all 3 of them will probably be on my list.
No question for me. They're all 10s for me. Honestly, yeah. I love them all.
I've
been a Day guy. I've been a Day guy.
Day. I thought something else happened.
I've been a gay guy. No, a day guy. A day guy. I've been a day guy for about the past 10, 12 years now, where I've, after years of always being a Dawn guy, Day has come up ahead in recent years and recent viewings and stuff. But again, you're splitting hairs. They're 10 out of 10s. I only have 52 movies, 52 horror movies that are 10 out of 10. That's not a lot considering how much we've watched in our lifetimes. I don't think that's preposterous.
That seems low to me. But then maybe I haven't done my full list yet, so I guess I can talk. I have things. I've got lists. Like I've got our top 20 of all time. I've got our top 20 of the millennium.
That helps.
I've got to just kind of meld it all together and add some new. There are some ones, like I said, Hereditary, Midsommar, and Martyrs. I have absolutely no question.
Yes,
those are going to be on my list.
Me too.
No question.
Obviously, I have. But I'm trying to look at these movies, and I'm like, okay, I gave it a 9.5, but do I really prefer, ultimately? Do I think that The Ritual belongs on my list over a movie like The Dead Zone, which I gave a 9 out of 10 last time we watched it, but I have so many 9 out of 10 that some aren't going to make the cut. And when I look back at this title, The Dead Zone, I think to myself, I don't know if it's going to make the cut, but then I kind of feel guilty. I get different. I go, oh man, it is The Dead Zone, and it's a classic, and this and that, and this, and I'm like, what weighs in? I know it's tough though. I rate The Ritual higher. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying to say. That's
The
been my
Ritual's a great movie. I mean,
it
you're
is.
not. I love Cronenberg, but not all Cronenberg. I mean, I've been open and honest about
Most
ones I
certainly.
haven't loved, but The Dead Zone happens to be another great one. Like Videodrome's another one. There's no question it's gonna figure in
Right.
there. But there's a there's a handful of Carpenter, a handful of Argento, and a handful of uh, Cronenberg that are gonna just be on that list.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, unless we set rules for ourselves, which we didn't,
But we
that you can
can't.
only
That's
have one
that's
or
no fun.
two. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
have fun. That's what I tell everybody. Don't take it seriously. Think about the movies you love the most.
Take it seriously, but don't overthink it.
That's it. Yeah, don't take it too seriously, where it's
Yeah.
like you're sweating about it and this and that, and because you're so serious about it, you can't put a list in because like, I can never get down to 100. I can't do it. I don't say. I say go with the gut. Think about it.
Yeah.
Look around at your collection. Think about movies. Google horror movies 1980. Go through each year. See the things that pop up and see things you may have forgot. Look at the top 100 horror movies list on IMDb or on Letterboxd. You will see them by rank, and then you can go down there and see maybe something you forgot. It's not that difficult to do. Will you miss something? Maybe, but it's happened. It's nothing to get hung about. Just do your thing. So it's like,
I wish you get hung.
oh shit. So I don't know. I'm having difficulties with this thing. Is what it's getting down
Yeah,
to.
I think a lot of people. It's hard. It's different. It is difficult. Even the top 20 is difficult. Like I looked at my top 20 of all time, and I'm like, all
it's
the
different
usual
now.
suspects are there.
Mm-hmm.
But it is different because when we did that, Hereditary, Midsummer did not exist at the time when we did that list. But where I'm going with it is the usual suspects are there in the top portion. Like I know it would be knocked out, no question, to make room for that. Well, other than the obvious 18 or 19 and 20 would be knocked out to reorganize. But I'm just saying that ultimately, I was shocked that like movies that I usually thought were no question in my top 10 shifted a little bit. Like I think American Werewolf in London ended up being in 13th spot on this list,
Uh-huh.
and A Nightmare on Elm Street was significantly lower than I remember it being. So I'm like, oh fuck! So I'm like. That at the time of making this list, that's how they came out. But I'm going to have to go back and revamp that because both of those I've always considered top 10 in my mind.
Well,
Anyway.
see, right. Sometimes you consider a lot of things top 10, and then you go back and look, and it's more than 10 movies. You're like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
now what do I do? Is this top 10 or is it not? Like in
There's a lot of
conversation,
ties.
right? You'd say that's what you'd be like. Okay, it's top 10. Be looking like, well, now I got 15 that I would always thought would be my top 10. So I'll tell you what though, I stumbled across some cool list, which I can't read now because we're too late into the show. But I've been maybe trying to save them for like a BS show or something because looking for help on my personal top 100, checking these out, I come across some other cool stuff which were cool, and I ended up seeing lists like, hold on, where the hell are they? It's been so far I've been holding on to them, and I have. Let's see. No, those are all set lists. Okay, hold on. Boy, oh, I got way too many of these things open. But I came across some lists of like top 100 movies of the millennium, the 50 best slasher movies of all time, 100 horror movies every horror fan should see. And I keep coming the 31 best modern horror movies. So I keep coming across these other lists, and they're kind of interesting. I think they would be fun to read off and debate and just mess around with. But we haven't really had the time. We haven't had a BS show. If a BS show rolled around, and
We could always do that as a segment before, like we used to do, where we had segments instead of just
true
discussion. But it's almost like we haven't gotten together. You had a birthday, I had a birthday. Dave
right.
turned 50. Am I allowed to say it? I did. I mean, hey, it's a milestone. He's half a fucking century old, this guy.
Ain't that something? Yeah.
He's a relic.
Yeah. I don't feel it. I'll tell you that, man. I don't feel any older than I did in the
That's
past.
all that
I don't
matters.
feel any older than 30, honestly. I still feel this. I've always felt this way. You know what I mean? So I've always been the same, which is the best part. I can go out and I could go to the fish show and move around and dance and freaking not sit down for 3 hours and then walk back to the car and then get up the next day and go and do it again. And I don't get tired. I don't have to sit down. None of that stuff. It's nothing has, recovery is just fine for if I'm partying or everything else. Everything's still the same. I the other day I drove 6 hours back home from Michigan to Buffalo. 7 hours really, because I got into Canada. Oh my God, that's a story. Oh my God.
You ended up going to Canada. I thought they're playing. Fish is
No,
playing there this weekend
they are.
or
I'm going
on the
on
10th or
Wednesday.
whatever.
I'm going
You're
on
going?
Wednesday.
Oh, you
Yeah.
are going. Oh,
My
nice.
wife and
Okay.
I, and maybe Frankie, if we can get her in. We're trying to get a passport last minute, and apparently
Oh,
she's 16, so it's a problem. She doesn't have a
oh
license.
shit. That's the problem. Yes.
She's
Because
too
if they're
old
under
now.
16, yeah. I was just gonna say you can use your birth certificate, correct?
Oh yeah, that's what they said. I
Yeah.
think now I had to get a passport and a birth certificate for her. So we're trying to get her a ticket because she wants to go now. So we're considering doing it. But listen to what happened. So it ended up being 7 hours. But the bottom line is I drove straight through, didn't have to stop, didn't have to do anything. I could still drive across the country or for 12 straight hours and not have to stop. I don't get tired. None of that shit. So 50, it may as well be 30 for me. So it's all the same, you know. So I feel it. I don't know if I look it exactly, although I did have a lot of people tell me that I didn't look 40. So that was cool. So anyway, this is the funny story. I have my GP. Actually, it starts off pretty miserable because fuck, I signed up for this thing through Expedia. I was just trying to get a rent a car. That's it. I just rent a car, Buffalo, New York, Niagara Falls, whatever the hell it is. Well, it ends up hooking me up with, what is it, Hertz or something like that, car rental. And for whatever reason, the address they gave me to pick it up, and I didn't think about it when I made the reservation. I just gave what they gave me. I just took what they gave me. It said go to one of the airports, the Niagara Falls Airport, the smaller one, not the bigger one which is Buffalo.
Yeah.
So the Niagara Falls Airport I was supposed to go to, and I didn't realize it till like a few days before. I'm like, I don't even see a car rental. I just see the airport for the address they gave me. So now I'm thinking, now I got to go there and ask around for this car rental place at the airport, which is going to suck a little bit. So sure enough, that morning, Monday or Tuesday, they call me, my birthday actually. They call me and they say early in the morning, I'm going out to get breakfast. They say, "Oh, listen, you've that place is not going to be open today at the airport. We're going to have to send you to the next closest one, and it's 2200 Military Road." I said, "Okay, fine. At least they got me in time." So now I'm getting ready. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Now I Google it. I put it in my maps. 2200 Military Road. Well, here's the problem. There's two military roads. There's one in Tonawanda. There's one in Niagara Falls. They're both, 15 or 20 minutes away from my house. So I just put in 2200 Military Road. Sure enough, my GPS takes me to the one in Tonawanda. There's no Hertz here. This is the wrong place. Now I'm pissed off because I'm late. I would have been right on time. Now I got to get to the
You're like,
show.
I was hurts today. I'm sorry.
I hurt myself today
I fucked it up even. I fucked up my own goddamn joke.
to see if I can drive.
Yeah.
I was so damn late.
Yeah.
Almost wasn't alive. Anyway, so I friggin' go to this. Now I'm going to be late. My wife's getting out from this place. We got to meet her at a certain time. We want to be there by 4 o'clock. We want to be there by a certain time so we have enough time to pregame and get together, check into our hotel, go to the parking lot, chill out, man, tailgate.
Give one of those balloons.
Get some chairs. There were balloons there. I didn't do them because it was the mafia doing it. It was the gangsters. You can't trust what they're selling. So you got to know. You got to be discerning. You can't just take gas from anybody. You don't know what's in that shit. So anyway, you just can't.
Oh,
yeah? So now,
this is horrible.
oh God, that nasty gas. So I get to this place. Now I'm gonna be late. Now I'm pissed off. Now I gotta go even further. Now it's 20 more minutes to get this car. And I get there. I go and I complain to the guy. I go, this, and this. You guys waited to the last minute to call. This happened. This. You give me this address. Now I'm here. Niagara Falls, not military. You know what?
I'm interrupting. I'm sorry. Why do you need a rental car when you've got a car? You're driving your car to get a rental car. You don't want to put the kilometers in your regular car? But I don't.
Well, here's the deal. Well, here's the deal. The car has over 100,000 miles on it. I want the car to last a good 2 more years. I only drive it to work and back. There's no problem with the car, but I know how many miles are on it, and I don't want to take the chance to go 3 hours away or 6 hours away and have any type of
Okay.
breakdown, anything happening, or put the kilometers on it, add
And then
to
you're
it.
stuck. Okay.
I
Or
just
the
would rather.
miles in your case. Yeah.
Well,
The miles.
so the
Yeah.
thing is this. It ended up being pretty cheap. It was like $344, and I have it for 3 days. So it's not like
Oh, nice. Okay.
terrible. If it would have been like a $600 thing, I'd say, well, F that. I'm gonna just take my car. But because of it being kind of inexpensive, and my friends and I were splitting the whole bill. Like we gotta buy
That's fine.
tickets. We got the hotel tickets, which we have a discount on. The tickets, because we're good at hunting, we don't pay face, and we add it all up, and at the end of the day, everything's split. So basically, all I had to do, I took this trip, had a grand old time. All it cost me was to rent that car, and I had my friend $200 cash, and everything else was taken care of. Tickets for myself, my wife, hotel rooms, and everything. In
Nice.
excellent time. So I mean, it wasn't that much money to do it. So be it. So now I go to the place. I want to rent the car. And I'm complaining to the guy. And I go, man, I really don't like the way, you guys do business. And I'm not the type of guy that gets upset. But first this and then this and now this. Now I'm going to be late. I'm supposed to be in Ohio at 4 o'clock. And now that's not going to happen. You guys should have, not done all this last minute. But anyway, I get the car. I leave. I go back. On the way back, I GPS it because I want to take the car home that day. I could have waited and brought it back Friday morning before 11, but I said, I'm driving now, and my car is there. So why not just go after hours? It closes at 5. I'm not going to get there till 6 or 7. I'm just going to go there, drop the keys where I'm supposed to do and do it. So now I put in the GPS, 2200 Military Road.
Oh, no.
Hertz. I even put in Hertz. But so for some reason, my Apple GPS took me where I got off this one exit by Busty Avenue, and for some reason it took me to like around the Peace Bridge, and it was saying to do this U-turn and to go here and to do this, and then it ended up, and then the first time I went around it, then I did a circle again. I don't know why the GPS got all crazy that way, but I never go in this area. So now it takes me in where now I know I'm going to be going into Niagara Falls, Canada. There was nothing I could do, so I had to pull to the side. Now here's the scary part. Well, I'll tell you that after. I didn't want to take a rental car in Canada because it's a rental car, right? And
Yeah.
I don't know what the rules are. And I could have made it back from Michigan. I could have shaved 2 hours off the trip if I went through Canada. I purposely avoided going through Canada because I have a rental car. Okay, so now I pull up and I see this one dude. And I go, listen, I don't want to go to Canada. This happened. I explained to him what happened. He goes, well, here's what you got to do. You're going to go up here. You're going to go over this first bridge. You got to follow these flashing things here. Go around, get to the thing, do a U-turn. You can come back through, and you're not in Canada. Okay, fine. Then you can get back on. Great. So now I do it. I do everything he says. I actually go over the bridge, and I'm about to all I see in front of me is is entrances into Canada. So now I'm like, well, I'm not going into Canada. So I did do a U-turn, and I went down the other way. But the thing is, it would appear that's the same place people go when they are returning from Canada.
Yeah.
So right.
Yeah. So you're going right. Yeah. It looks like you're just turning it. Have to go through the American. Don't you have to go through the American shit again?
Yes. So now I'm going through it. It looks as if now I'm going through American customs, as if I was just in Canada. So now I got to tell the guy what happened. I said, listen, the gentleman over there just pointed me around. I have a rental car, and I didn't want to go through Canada because it's a rental car. I'm not coming from Canada. I just stood up there and did a U-turn. So I'm explaining this to the guy. And he's like, okay. And he goes, so what were you doing? He goes, where are you from? I said, North Tonawanda, out here, Buffalo. And he goes, where were you? I said, well, first I was in Ohio, but then I was in Michigan. Now I'm coming back. That's where I rented the car to go on this trip. So then the guy says, so you're from Buffalo. He goes, what did he say? You came through Canada and you have Michigan license plates. Because they just so happen to be Michigan plates when I picked it up in Buffalo. So because I said the word Michigan, now the guy's looking at this. I said, yes. I go, those plates were on it from jump, but I didn't go to Canada. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I avoided going because this is a rent-a-car. Happens to have Michigan plates, so I avoided coming through Canada on the way back. And I just came here.
Well, your buddy over there told me. I get very, I know you got to be cautious on how you talk to these guys.
Right.
But I'm like, yeah, I would not be here. Your buddy over there told me to make a U-turn and come back through. I didn't even know I'd have to talk to anybody. I thought I was avoiding all this stuff. But he said the only way to get around is to do this. Sorry, I get heated in those moments.
Dude, it sucked. It sucked. Yeah. And so the guy goes, well, Then he says, "Do you have anything of interest in the vehicle?" And I said, "Well, because we had a cooler with ice." I said, "I'm going to tell you right now." I said, "There's probably 2 or 3 beers in the cooler, unopened, of course, that from the night before. It's my cooler, so I'm bringing it back home from the trip. And there's beer and water in there, so you are going to probably find 2 to 3 beers in that thing in the ice." And he goes, "Okay." He goes, "You're lucky I'm here and not my predecessor," he said. And I talked to him for another minute, and he said, "Just go." He goes, "You're okay, just go." But still, they could have really busted my balls. Now I get through, and I'm talking to my friend on the phone.
And those are the Americans.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
a fucking American.
Oh, they're the worst. They're the worst. Coming back is worse.
Well,
So now,
who knows? You never know. You might have gotten.
I know. Well, there's more to it. There's more to it. Not only do I have that stuff in the thing, I have my backpack in the trunk, and inside the trunk, I have my gummy bears and my smoke. I have fucking weed, and I'm taking it over the border, and I wasn't even thinking about it until I got through.
In both areas right now.
It's legal in New York State, and it's extremely legal in Canada. But the thing is, I still don't believe we're supposed to be taking it over the border. I think that's
probably not the best. Yeah, you're probably right. I'm sure it's probably frowned down upon.
So, dude, and I didn't think about this until after I was driving. I was like, holy shit. If he would have asked to go into the trunk and open my cooler, that would have been fine. But my backpack was right next to it along with my other luggage. He would have clearly smelled the weed that was in my backpack and gone in there and found the weed and the bears. And then all because of this dumb one freaking mistake with the GPS and me and what I could have really been up freaking Schitt's Creek here. I was bugged out about that. That sucked. Because listen to what happened. My friends are taking a plane. They're coming from Las Vegas to Cleveland to meet me there. All right. So I have to get provisions for them because I'm driving up. They're not going to bring weed in the freaking plane and shit like that. It's a plane. You don't want to do that. It's bad enough on the border. You're not bringing that stuff on a plane, and it's not legal in Cleveland. And their first spot was Cleveland. Michigan's very legal. They got signs all over the place. It's cool. So, but still, so I had to get provisions for the 4 of us. So I had to get it and then drive it and then give him his share. When we got there, "Here, I got your stuff." So I had the stuff. Otherwise, I wouldn't have brought that many. I just would have brought exactly what I knew I was going to partake in, use it, and not drive back. But that's not what happened. But it's okay. But holy shit. Because I went and I did the spin around, and I'm driving over the bridge. There's 2 bridges. And I'm driving over the bridge, and I'm looking up, and there's a maple leaf. There's a Canadian leaf on the thing, and this and that. And I'm thinking, am I in Canada? What the hell's going on here? Why is this leaf here? I thought I'm just driving around going to.
Why is this leaf?
I'm getting nervous. I'm like, they're gonna think I was in Canada. Like I'm coming because this is a Canadian thing. Anyway, it ended up okay, but holy shit, I was nervous at first, and then afterwards I was like, holy shit, that could have been real bad. But it all worked out.
They may have checked your bag, and that would have even more. But again, it's legal, but so who knows? But crazy.
Who does know? I don't think you're supposed to take things. Yeah, well, I know. I try to do the safe thing, the smart thing, And now when we take my car Wednesday, well, we'll find out because I'll take a few bears with me. But I mean, here's what I do though. I'm smart about it. I take my bears. I'll go to the store and I'll buy some gummies. Like gummy worms, gummy bears, like the real candy. And then I'll take it out and I'll open it and I'll put them in a plastic bag and I'll put my bears in with those bears and those gummies. Then I'll get another little thing and I'll put like a Cheez-Its in it. And then I'll get another little bag and I'll put some other snack in it. Just so it looks like I got different bags of snacks. So if they see them, no one's going to be like, digging through my freaking gummy worms. Are these marijuana? I just, So you got to be smarter. You got to know how to do shit like I do.
Yeah. Like follow a GPS properly.
Right. Yeah, that's how I'm an idiot. This is true. As smart as I am in all these other ways where I'm a forward thinker and I think about things that other people may not have thought to do, I still can't do a simple thing like follow a direction. Anyway, that's me in a nutshell.
Now, again, I guess, I don't know why we're telling the listeners. The listeners know because we've announced this and we put the poll out there. But with this being 182, of course, we're doing the 80s horror. And so we picked 2 movies from 82, or they chose them for us. Looked like pieces may have gotten through, but New York Ripper became the victor.
Thank you.
So we're doing New York Ripper and Tenebrae.
Sexy
I got
Tenebrae
this one.
box.
I didn't get the Arrow one because you know what?
Synapse, huh?
I love. Don't get me wrong. I love them, and they look great. This is the exact same packaging, other than they do a little different spine, but the artwork on this is different. I prefer this artwork to the ones Arrow was doing, and I got this cheaper.
Really?
I got this cheap, and I was like, well, it's a done and done. And then when you actually take this out, you can actually put the you can flip it around and put the old, like they've got the old artwork in it.
The old cover,
well.
right?
Yeah.
Which is what that face behind the okay, or the head.
That's the lobby cards, but that's the one.
Right.
They've got so you get the best of both worlds, I find. So I was like, you know what? I've got the Synapse Suspiria, because I don't think Arrow did a 4K version of that. Shockingly, no. It's weird. So I don't know if they're holding out to do their own version, but Synapse did theirs, and this one was great. And I watched this for the show, so I'd watch the Blu-ray, and it's great. It's a good copy. This blows it away. The 4K blows it away.
Wow, man!
It looks really nice.
I was
really pleasantly surprised, but it was a decent enough price. It was $50 Canadian, shipping included.
50 Canadian, huh? Where'd you get it from?
On Amazon. I saw it. I'm like, well, I really wanted the Arrow to match all the other Arrows, but the Arrow ones were always for more. And this one's, and they said it was going to ship. I'm like, I don't think I can get this in time for the show, and I got it the next day, so I was able to rewatch it because I thought we were recording in the middle of the week. For whatever reason, I had it in my head that we were going to do this episode in the middle of the week. Yeah.
Right.
So, anyway,
well,
what did you want to start with?
When I look at my Tenebrae 4K, the Synapse one, it's $40
there you go.
For me. And then the Blu-ray is $35.
Yeah, makes no sense.
Which is great. But here's the thing. There is no other Tenebrae 4K except the Synapse one. So the Arrow one doesn't show up.
Not on Amazon, but you can get it. You can look on eBay or go to you can go right to Arrow Films or whatever, and you can get it. But by the time you ship it to you, by the time you do the exchange, I think you're looking at probably, maybe it's 35, I think, euro or pounds, 35 pounds.
Okay.
And
see,
shipping. So it's the exchange. It's not like I really like the packaging of this. I'm like, I wish Arrow did this package. So I'm like, screw it. I'm just gonna get the Synapse, and I'm happy it did. And it's the same sort of packaging inside, where they give you the movie, they give you the 4K version, they give you Unsane cut 4K, and they give you the Blu-ray version as well, and then they give you the booklet. So I'm pretty sure the booklet is a carbon copy of the Arrow booklet.
Right. No, that's sweet.
And the Blu-ray will be official Blu-ray. Whereas when you ever get the Arrow one, you got to have a region free. That's the one difference. 4K doesn't matter, but if you have a Blu-ray special edition, then then you get the big poster.
Sweet, man. No, it's cool stuff. It's cool stuff, though. There's the other one. I said the face behind the white. Yeah. See, there's always those two. Okay. Both of the same kills, too. But, see, $40 is just too much for me. I'm not doing it. Like, I bought Cat of Nine Tails because it was down to 30. It went to 30. 30 is as high as I'm going to go for anything. I can't justify going 40 even for a 4K. Do
you want the limited editions, or are you just getting the 4Ks? Because
whatever's cheaper, I'll get.
Well, the standard versions are always cheaper. Like did you get your Cat of Nine Tails? Does it have all this stuff, or was it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I didn't open it yet, but that's the one I bought. That's what it said it had. The poster inside, and it's a thick book. So
then it is, because the other ones look more like just regular style.
Right.
4K or Blu-ray.
I just watch the market. I just check periodically, and when one of them is down to $30, I'll jump on it. But I won't do it, and I really wanted to do it for this particular show, but I showed restraint because I just got Cat of Nine Tails last week. I said, no, I can't do this again for another 2 months. And that's what I do. I have a regimen with the credit cards to keep action on the cards, and then I can afford to buy myself things and not feel guilty about it, because I'm doing myself a service by keeping my, if I have a credit card with $750 limit on it to start with, If I keep it at 25% or below, I'm good. So, but you got to keep it active. You got to have something on it. So that's what I do.
Now, not to switch gears, but what did you want to start with? What movie did you want to start with?
Oh, I don't. I could
Tenebrae
care less.
or New York?
Care, whatever. It's up to you, man. You got a choice. You got a.
Well, let's do New York Ripper. Let's
Okay.
start with New York. I don't have a favorite, but I just think it's a good one to start with.
Well, speaking
And
of favorites, yeah, go ahead though. Sorry.
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
I think that, and people were remarking about it as we were posting. Other patrons are always picking movies that seem to be the most popular, or not going for gems. And here's what I said. I think people do, when they see a poll, they just pick the movie they like the most, and they don't necessarily think about what's going to make the best review. I probably said that last show, because it does seem to be what happened. But but in this case, I don't care, because I'm grateful I didn't have to watch Pieces again, because I thought Pieces was going to run away with it. And then New York Ripper.
I've got Pieces. I like Pieces. I've grown to like Pieces, because the one I grew up with was cut to shit.
I used to like it more, and the more I watch it now, the less I like it. I'm just not into. There's too much of the mystery stuff and the cop stuff and all the. There are a few great scenes, but to me, it's too much giallo. It's too much investigation, and then there's some weird things for no reason. That just, I don't know. It's fine. Yeah, like things like that. In the New York Ripper, at least has good gore and and yes, you do have cop stuff.
Crazy fucking. Hey, let me introduce it. We'll get into it, because what a crazy movie. So we'll start with 1982, The New York Ripper, directed by Lucio Fulci. A burned-out New York police detective teams up with a college psychoanalyst to track down a vicious serial killer, randomly stalking and killing various young women around the city.
I tell you, I like this. Typically, I would say that I for Fulci, a Fulci giallo, I don't enjoy them as much as I do an Argento, and I can say that about probably everybody's giallo, So gialli, but it's like this one here, I think may be my favorite. Now, I would have said before, Don't Torture a Duckling, but I think I like this better, and I like where it goes in the third act. Even though the first time I was confused by it, and I was always a little bit put off in the past about the duck thing, watching it again this time, and just knowing the outcome and putting that into perspective, and just watching it for what it is, it's actually really not. It's not comical, even though the guy's doing a duck thing. It's actually quite sad when you find out what the reason behind it all.
And once you find out the reasoning, but to get there, what a fucking goofy movie. And again, you do have to use giallo logic, or you're not going to like many of these movies, because there are kind of lapses of logic throughout, for the most part. Things that are explained, they explain them. Whether or not you agree or believe the explanation is a whole other thing. Because that's the thing here. You're supposed to just assume that a normal person can act, for the most part, fairly normal in both these movies that we're going to be talking to tonight, but be batshit crazy at the same time.
Right.
and so that is typically the biggest lapse of logic that you'll find in most giallo, and most murder mysteries, I think, for that matter. But
sure,
these ones are definitely more, because they're typically insane. But this is a one goofy, sleazy, brutal horror movie. But it's fast-paced. And there is quite a bit of enjoyment that you get from the movie, not just from the intense gore, because the gore is off the charts, especially for the time. Think about this, 82.
Yeah, hey, well,
sure. Gore was crazy.
We were having gore in 82 for damn sure.
I mean, we had gore well before it, but I'm just talking about, like, when you get the eyeball cut and the nipple cut and whatever. Ooh. Like, you're talking about, like, next level, like, perversion and gore.
Solid. Yeah.
Yeah. And this movie, like, I thought they were watching a movie. Every time I put this on, I think they're watching a movie. Then the actor and actress get up and walk off the stage from the sex act.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it says
It's like,
live sex.
like I always forget it's live. I know it says live sex, but you figure it's one of those areas where they do it here, there, in booths, and then they're going into a movie theater to watch a movie. But no, they're going into a movie theater to watch people have sex. And
Could you imagine that?
yeah,
Wow. 25 cents. I wonder if
yeah.
that really happened. For 25 cents, you can go in there and see that. Two people freaking just going at it on stage. I wonder. I wish I could do it. I wish I could have been the person going at it on stage. That'd be freaking awesome. Imagine
She
that,
said
being in that
there was
position.
there's an interview with the actress on this, and it's the actress that plays the porn star that gets killed with the bottle in a very graphic
Oh,
scene
yeah.
as well. But she talks about it and saying how it was a very uncomfortable scene because they didn't know each other, and she even think the guy was gay, and so she just said we just said, look, we got to make this work. So they just did what they had to do and
Oh, wow.
made it work. But they said it was definitely very awkward and just to get through it. But
I could
yeah,
imagine.
there's a lot of there. So there's links, like there's links with the characters because I think there's that one character that's very sexual. Obviously her and her husband are having some issues, and she leaves, and
Oh, that.
they're
Oh,
painting a lot of red herrings and whatever. But she's there to watch the scene, and so is Mr. No Two Fingers, right? He's there too,
right. Yes.
and then they leave, and of course because they're trying to set up again, like I said, killers and red herrings and whatever. And then this woman that is having sex ends up getting killed in her dressing room by getting
Yeah.
in a broken bottle in the old Cucurino.
Oh, man. The old Cucurino. That was good stuff, man.
Oh, it's crazy. Well, there was that killer though. Like immediately she gets it. It's brutal. It's bam, and he turns it, and you're like, oh, and then she falls to the ground dead.
Right. Yeah, instant.
Like, I mean, I get it. It's vicious and gruel. You're gonna have a lot of pain, but I don't think that's gonna just kill you. But back in
Well,
the day, things like that just killed you.
would a freaking a horn through the ear in Friday the 13th freaking kill you? All he did was take a freaking horn and
In
jab it
the
in
eye.
someone's ear.
It was into
Eye.
the eye. Oh, it was that much into the brain, through the eye, into the
Focus
head.
of the brain.
Huh?
Yeah. Awful, that freaking noise. What a thing to do. But still,
Anyway,
we've seen this forever. I've seen things forever in slashers and stuff like that. I'm like,
yeah.
well, would that really kill you? Just like the fact that if anybody besides Jason can walk up behind somebody and grab their head and snap their neck and them dying, I don't like seeing that in a movie. I think it even happened in one of the Saw movies because Frankie asked me. I go, well, yeah, that's a movie death. That never happens in real life unless if it's Jason on a screen, I can accept it. Someone that has superhuman type strength. You know what I mean? Freakish strength. They're known for it. But if Christian or Dave is the killer, just because we put a mask on or whatever doesn't mean that we should have the ability just to grab somebody's head and snap their neck and they die that easy. Like someone's made of paper mache, you know? But you see that, you know? It's
Oh,
just.
you do. No, it
Yeah.
happens. It's just
Yeah.
weird because I thought about it. I'm like, it's brutal, but
Right.
she just dies instead of she hits the ground dead. Instead, it hits the ground like screaming in pain, and he finishes her off like she hits the ground dead. But
Just
I mean,
dead,
again,
right.
it's great killings, and that girl that like the wife that is like supercharged sexual.
Yeah.
Like that whole scene
Mm-mm.
where she goes in and the guy's using his toe. I'm like,
Right.
that's a really graphic scene, and it's really well done. But I'm just trying to think of like, are they trying to paint her as the killer? Do you think, or her husband? Like, what do you think they're trying to do with her character? Because we do follow her around quite a bit, and she happens to be at that theater. But they're really putting it on, of course, Mr. Two Fingers as like.
Right.
I mean, obviously, I mean, there's like if you've seen the movie, he's the killer. Like their spotlight is on him. But what's interesting is that she's there. She leaves her husband to go to this event. So the husband kind of looks at her kind of weird. So you're thinking
Right.
like maybe he might be the killer. Like thinking, oh, I can't please my wife, and she's going elsewhere and whatever. Like, but it's just weird how they follow her and then how she gets killed much later in the movie.
Well, right. But not much later, but
Not much later, but yeah.
she still she goes to the guy, so she becomes the victim. At first, I don't know what they're going for and why we're following her. I don't care because the thing about this movie is all the women are just beautiful. Every one of them in this movie. Like, wow. So we're following this woman, and I'm just fine with that because I like her. Then they had that scene, which is really more rapey than anything. Like,
well,
you know what I mean?
I guess you're thinking. I guess you're right. I guess they're thinking you're following her, so she's in danger, and then finds out, like, thinks she's the killer, and gets out of there only to be killed. Yeah. So I guess
And they kind of give it away. They kind of see, and I wish they wouldn't have done that because there's the scene when she's there with two fingers, and first thing I'm thinking is, this girl hands him money. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Now, later on, you find out it's a gigolo. That's what he does. But I'm thinking, so this beautiful woman is going to give this guy money to sleep with him? I'm thinking, what world is this that this would happen? The other way around, I could buy. But this, anyway. So
and how does he give her the shocker?
He does, right?
How does he? Yeah.
Right, he
is
can't.
He knuckle fucker?
Knuckle fucker. Knuckle fucker. Right. So, now, here's the problem, though. There's that scene, and he has her tied up, and everything's going on. And then the guy comes on the radio, talks about the two fingers, and the cops know about it, becomes this thing. But here's the thing. Why do they show him make the call? Because now, all of a sudden, now he's not the killer. Because he calls somebody up, the real killer, and says, yeah, I got this girl's wilder than a circus act or something. He said this and this, and he goes, I got her here all wrapped up just the way you like it. Now, to me, the insinuation right away is that he's tied her up so somebody else could come and kill her. That's what I think. I think that they gave that away when they shouldn't have, because immediately there, now it's casting doubt on this red herring, which at first you're along for the ride. I never understood why. I think they should have had him turn up the radio and make a phone call, and maybe we hear like one or two words, like our general would have done. You know how our general likes to do those things, and then in the climax, the reveal, you actually find out what they actually did really see or did really hear, and it comes back to
like what we're going to be talking about later. Yeah.
Well, there you go, because it does happen. He does it a lot. It works just fine. I wish they would have done something where we just heard like a word or two, and then later at the end, we could piece it together that he was the one calling the killer. Now that phone call makes sense. We weren't really sure what that phone call was. But it could have been a vehicle just to get his name, because after that, we know his name, and that's who they're looking for. So I just think they could have shortened it or something.
Because I don't think he was interested in that type of storytelling. It's literally he was going for the gore, the sex, the sleaze, and the copy or interrogation. Because they just, like, without any explanation, they just cut to him dead in a ditch later.
Yeah.
And it pans out. You're like, fuck. There could have been a whole sequence there. What if you're thinking he's stalking a girl, like they kind of do later, and then he gets killed by the killer. But instead, we just get revealed that he's dead, and then the police investigation. Morning. And then the police investigation shows that he's been dead for 8 days or whatever, or he explains he's been dead for 8 days, so he couldn't be the killer. So the police know. But I'm like, what a crazy revelation. There's a whole scene that could have been used to continue to make him look like he's the killer, even though the spotlight is right on him, only for him to get killed. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
It's so bizarre.
It would have been better served. So you agree. He shouldn't have been discovered dead at that time, and maybe that phone call shouldn't have been broadcasted that way for us to really hear everything he's saying, because now you have this red herring. You've invested so much time into it, and then you just cut it off at the knees. See, our general wouldn't do something like that. Our general would have kept it till the end. And that's the difference. And that's why, to me, our general makes the best jolly. Well, that's all there is to it.
Well, again, you're watching this one for the sleaze and the gore. I mean, yeah, there's detective work and police work. The acting's fine. Women are beautiful, as you mentioned. But the reveal is kind of odd, because we're introducing these characters a little bit later. And then the girl is, so there's a younger girl that's amputated, or her arm's amputated, and this makes her less of a woman?
Her arm's amputated, and it makes her less of a woman.
In the guy's eyes? Like, why? Like, that's the whole thing. Like, when they were young, she's little duck and he's big duck, or whatever, and they're and they're talking and whatever. But
No,
like,
it's not that. She'll never grow up to be a woman. She's
oh,
gonna
she's
die
dying. She's
young.
actually dying, but her
Yeah,
arm was
she has a.
amputated.
It's a lymphatic something. No, it's a disease. She's going to die. It started off
Well,
with
that
the,
makes way more sense.
with an
Okay.
amputation, right? Because they said it more than once. They said she'll never be a woman. So you thought that they were saying like metaphorically she'll never be
Yeah.
a full woman because she's
Just
missing
like
a limb.
just like Michael was hungry to kill, not hungry to eat fucking dog. Yeah, I guess I just read it wrong. And again, that makes way more sense because they do
Right.
put those like bag under her bags. I thought she was the Manhattan Baby in his next movie. But anyway, so I got because she has her arm amputated, so she's there essentially on her deathbed.
Yeah, poor baby.
Okay.
Yeah. We can do that.
So the guy's
Anyway,
mad at the world and taking it out on women,
yeah.
and that's yeah. And so be
So
it. I mean, that's really enough of an explanation, and really what you're going to get from a lot of these movies. Something that happened that just kind of set them off, whether they
sure.
be off from the get go or something in their life sets them off. And usually in what would have most people crying and saying the world's not fair puts these people into like a spiral of murder and mayhem.
Indeed. And the thing is, the only thing about this movie is when all of a sudden the focus of the movie just goes to that couple for a while. And I
Yes.
find myself thinking, why have we shifted gears to have these two become our primary characters now? What's the meaning of this? Ultimately, we find out, but it's just, at the time, it's just kind of an
It's bad
oddball.
storytelling, really.
Yeah,
It's not
see?
it's
Thank you.
fragmented from that standpoint. It's very fragmented storytelling because what you're doing is we're just shifting gears every, act of the movie in a sense to a different group. Like we've got that woman, we've got like it's just, and then we've got like this couple for the last bit because I know that she's introduced earlier because she gets attacked right and the knife hits. And that's what breaks off the tip of the knife and whatnot. And I'm not saying there's not good reveals here, but there just seems like you're right. Like we suddenly, it's almost like, well, why are we here with these people now? There's got to be more to it.
And that's
which,
it.
Of course, there is. There is.
Well, yeah, there is, but it's like you said, though. It's not, the story isn't told the way it should be. That's the problem with the Fulci Giallo for me. That happens time and time again when I watch them. It's okay that he does dreamlike stuff in in the Gates of Hell trilogy and stuff like that. It's a different type of movie. It's supernatural. There's different things. It's a different spin. But this is based in reality. It's a murder mystery. It's a giallo. It's in essence like taking a Hitchcock movie and doing your own type of spin on it, adding gore and what else. Where Hitchcock wouldn't have done that. Or it's just that's all I'm saying. And Argento, as quirky as his movies are, and some people want to say this and that about him, I don't have a problem following along, and I don't question what's going on in his movies. They wouldn't have a radical shift like that. They would if somebody got killed, which is smart. Like in Argento, we sometimes, again, and he's doing the same thing that Hitchcock did with Psycho, and it's great. But I mean, he'll have somebody get killed, and then a second killer come on afterward or something like that. And then that's at the end. But at no time do you say, how come the focus of the movie goes from this person to this? Because it doesn't really happen. Like in Stendhal Syndrome, we're already with the character when the turn happens. And in Tenebrae, for example, and it's only in the third act when we find out what we find out. We're along the ride the whole way with this person and these a couple sub characters but that he interacts with. And then it's okay if it shifts a little bit more to them because,
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense for the narrative, but I don't understand why. And again, I'm not knocking Fulci. People may think that I knock him and this and that. I want to enjoy all his stuff, and I've praised some of his things. But when people like to make statements about not understanding Argento movies, I always tell them the only movie from Argento that I don't understand front to back, but actually have a pretty good idea as to what's going on, is Inferno at this point. Everything else, you have a question, I'll be able to give you an answer. But I can't say that with Fulci.
And again, this is just the way he was telling the story. I think the glue is obviously the police investigation. So it's not necessarily it might be a detriment to some people, but the movie doesn't fall apart. But you definitely are now questioning, like, we're following them? I guess, Dave, the answer would be because she did get attacked. So now we're following her because she was a survivor, but we just don't realize how close she is to the actual killer. And then the weirdest part would be, and again, maybe you can explain it to me, is Mr. Two Fingers, before he's dead, comes to attack her at her house. Why is he coming to the house?
Okay. He is going there because he thought that she was going to implicate him as the killer.
So he's going to kill her?
Yeah, because
or talk her down. I'm not the killer. See, if I was killer, I'd kill you right now. I'm not killing you right now. I just broke into your house.
Well, he's killing that person for that reason, though. He's trying to save his ass, because if they're going to say he's the killer and there's a killer out there and he knows the killer and he knows that he's directly wrapped up with the killer and somehow the blame could fall to him, he's just doing it. It's almost like a similar situation happens in Tenebrae. All of a sudden, a couple other characters are killed that have nothing to do with anything because somebody is trying to. They have their own agenda, and there just happens to be a killer, and it works out. So that's what it was. Because I agree, I was with you. I didn't understand why that happened at the time and what's going on here. But they say it later on in the film. One of the detectives or somebody explains it. They said the only person he killed or tried to kill was her. And because he thought that she was going to identify him as the killer. She already did identify him as the killer. Remember, the guy on the radio said the Two Fingers guy. So it's getting publicity that if you see somebody with two fingers missing, don't pick him up. So he is the killer in the public eye. So now he's like, well, what's this shit?
They missed something great here. And again, I know this is not what the movie's interested in doing, but from a storytelling standpoint, they did really miss something great where you don't really hear what's happening, and now he's come to attack her but doesn't succeed because he gets attacked, but now gives a perfect motivation for the killer who's had this interaction with him to go kill Mr. Two Fingers, but we don't know that yet. So then when we follow Mr. Two Fingers again, and he ends up getting killed and found in a ditch, then there's a whole scene there that would have been great. And oh my God, he's not the killer because he just got killed. Instead of just, he's dead. Oh, he died 8 days ago. and whatever. Because that's how it's presented to us. And again, I'm just saying, I do this a lot. I talk about the movie that I wish I had as opposed to the one we've got. The one we've got is fine. The one we've got is fine. It's gory. It's sleazy. It's a quick watch. It's fine. And it's got rewatchability to it, funny enough. And I really, really dig it. I'm just saying there could have been so much more.
I agree.
There could have been so much more.
It could have been better. That's just it. And so I'm with you. There's nothing wrong with that. I could still enjoy a movie and rate it high. However, I can only go so high with it because I'm like you. If I see something and I see, well, if I was writing it, the film would have been better suited to tell its story this way or to do this. And granted, everybody's a Monday morning quarterback, and we've seen the movie more than once, and it's different. But still, we can see and fancy ourselves as writers and look at it and say, and you've actually put pen to paper for a script, so you could call yourself officially a writer. I never finished anything. That's my biggest problem. I started scripts, I've started stories, and then I've been sidetracked and not finished. But I still feel I have the ability to write things, especially dialogue. But all that aside, so if we're going to fancy ourselves writers or even editors of somebody else's written work, which I find it's something I could do decently, it's the same thing with a movie. I can watch a movie, see the script, and say, wouldn't this be better? Let's scratch this off. Let's erase this and then put a little arrow here. Do it this way instead. Don't you think that works out better? And the director would probably say, or the writer, yeah, I never thought of it that way. It's better explained. So again, everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. And Fulci is a regarded director and everything else. And I'm not knocking. I've enjoyed plenty of his films. I'm like you.
Fulci is regarded director from a retrospective standpoint. At the time, I don't think he got any accolades whatsoever. I think he was considered a kind of, again, and correct me if I'm wrong, listeners, a hack, for lack of a better term. Like, I don't think he was well regarded. I think over time, people were like, look at this. Other than The Beyond, I think, which was mostly praised. And then I think people said, like, holy shit, like, look at this body of work. let's jump into it a little bit more. So he did have a lot to say, and there were some great fucking movies here and some gems. And one of that, I just posted actually a link to, I think, our regular Facebook page, not the Patreon one, but the regular one, about Chaz Ballin, who wrote for, who did Deep Red Horror Magazine and wrote for, we've quoted his reviews on here. He did Gore Score, Horror Holocaust. He was an early adopter. I mean, he was around talking about Fulci at the time and giving him a lot more weight than what I think a lot of other horror outlets were doing. And that was back in the late 80s, or in the 80s and the 90s. And I think, you know, he would definitely, it was a really good article because he passed away back, I think, in 2009, and it just talked about his life and how he devoted it to writing about horror and getting, because he for sure was the reason why I checked out Argento and Fulci back in the day. No question. Well, that was my way in, was based on his like writing about them, and how he just said, like, from a gore standpoint, you should enjoy them, but there's more to them. But like, just from the fact that they gleefully are showing what we're getting censored left, right, and center in American cinema, like, should be like reason enough to check them out. But also say that there's more to them. And again, the craziness of having a duck quacking serial killer, like think about it. I mean, try to sell that nowadays. It's crazy.
Oh, forget it. Now it would be too ridiculous. It'd be like a Greasy Strangler movie. See, in theory, it's ridiculous. The killer quacks like a duck. If I had my friends come over Friday night and say, let's watch New York Ripper, it's like a giallo murder mystery stuff, it's really cool, it's a Lucio Fulci movie, Italian horror, and the killer quacks like a duck, they're immediately going to think that we're going to sit down and watch this movie and it's going to be a fun movie. But it really is not. That's what I'm saying. No. It's not goofy that he's quacking and talking like a duck. Maybe at first, but when it becomes your second view and you already have in your head as to why it's a very serious situation, and it's also something that I could see happening to someone who's mentally disturbed in real life, would act that way, and there's nothing funny about that. So it's almost like in my head for years, I kind of disregarded this movie a little bit because of my memory of the quacking, saying, oh, that's ridiculous. Why do they have to quack? And it would be better served straight up. But yes, he is quacking and using that voice, which sounds more like Mickey Mouse than Donald Duck when he's talking. But he's doing that, and it's like, but it's scary, where it's not goofy. And that's why I'm okay with it now. That's how I feel. But I wanted to sidetrack for a second and ask you, because you were talking about these Fulci movies and these Italian movies in Argento and how you got turned on to them. Here's my question, because this has happened to me, and I finally figured it out in a discussion I had recently. This is what, in the United States, at the places I went to, at the local shops, Video Factory and Movies Plus, the local chains, it was the running heyday, VHS in the 80s. I don't believe, well, I know for a fact, that a lot of these Italian horror movies and other movies just were not on the shelf to be able to be seen. I wouldn't have been able to. I think New York Ripper for some reason was there, but I could be confused with the Tom Savini movie, The Ripper. I just remember seeing it on the shelf. I'm going to say New York Ripper was there and Zombie was there, but Suspiria was not. And other movies were not from foreign countries. I had to order Suspiria.
Suspiria
for me
came
in the
out.
80s. No.
Suspiria came out, I think, early 90s, and I remember art box artwork for it at National Video, which became it was across town. I had to drive 20 minutes to get to it or more, because I was on the east end of town and it was on the far west end. And I'm like, but it's worth it, because the selection they had a horror selection and a cult selection. It was better than Jumbo Video that had the beautiful castle. But I will say that there was always horror or Italian horror there. I always had some Argento, which was Creepers, which was Unsane.
Okay, I didn't
which
even
was
have
like which I think they had Deep Red in whatever version at the time. But then Suspiria was like one that came later, and there was a couple of Fulci ones, like the ones you mentioned. Definitely, it was the Seven Doors of Death, or whatever the alternate title was to the Beyond. And it was House by the Cemetery was definitely there because that's how I rented it and saw it, obviously. And
Right.
The Gates of Hell at the time. It was called The Gates of Hell. The more cut version of City of the Living Dead, and
Right.
Zombie, of course. So all those ones were there, and I saw them. And I'm gonna take something back. Not a hack. A hack would be like a Herschel Gordon Lewis. I said Fucci was maybe looked as a hack. I think he was just overlooked. I think no one gave him much credit. No one. I think he was just there, but nobody actually dove into his work at the time comparatively. Right. I think over time, and people did and said like, look, this is great. He was like a director for hire. I don't think he retired with any money based on the amount of movies he did. You would have assumed he amassed a fortune, but he wasn't. He was right. Like, the opposite of Argento in a sense. Now, again, when you look at this movie and see the sleazy, I'm like, nothing wrong with it. I love it. Like I said, the rating's going to be high for it, but it never, I can't, it wouldn't be like a 10 or anything like that for me, but from a delivering, from entertainment standpoint, from a gore standpoint, from a rewatchability standpoint, it's there. The New York Ripper has it. But yeah, there was definitely more horror available. I'm jumping back to what you were saying. I'm jumping all over the place, so I apologize, listeners. But Dave, what you're saying is there were definitely options for us to rent, so I did see them, but they're usually the cut format at the time, whatever was available on the VHS market at the time.
Well, I did not have. I remember seeing Cannibal Holocaust was there, Make Them Die Slowly, that Mondo Cane movie, The Faces of the Death Ones. There will be a couple random Italian movies there, I suppose. Probably not really any Asian movies at all. And I frequented the same places. There was more than one Video Factory. There was more than one Movies Plus. They were around. It wasn't like it was just one store. So we bounced. Yeah. We would check them out. Later on, I got a store in the college section at the end of the 90s. And that's where the first time I saw the Ring, the original Ring. Japanese, and it was there was a place called Mondo Video. It was like in the college section of town, and they had cult movies, and they had movies based on director and stuff like that. So that was a college crowd. I could see why there'd be a hunt for that, but I didn't know about it till later. But as a kid in the 80s, driving around renting all these horror movies, a lot of movies were not there, and I've come to find out why I have some of the blind spots I do, because if you're someone that came up and just started collecting all the physical media in the early explosion in the 2000s and the boutique labels and everything it became, then yes, you're going to see everything that was made in 1982 and 83, etc. However, no matter what the country is now, but at the time growing up in it, they just weren't there. So there are cases where, yes, I avoided something on purpose based on the box or this or whatever I was feeling at the time. That I can't say that's not true because it's true. But the fact of the matter is, it just wasn't there. I couldn't have walked in the store and picked up a Suspiria and rented it or this or that or other movies. They just were not there. Some movies just were not even released on VHS or had a limited release, and then they didn't even get a DVD release. Then they didn't come out to a Blu-ray time. So I think that's what it is. I think there's like younger listeners or like people in our circle that kind of get surprised. Like, man, guys like us from the 80s that have seen all this stuff, how did you not watch this too? And I think I've come up with it. That's the answer. It just, at the time, it was not available to us. There was nothing we could do. And it's weird to think about it because everybody now thinks that it was just all there for the taking like it is now. And it just wasn't,
I remember Suspiria specifically having...
yeah, but the 90s, you said.
Yeah. No, but like a video release. I just can't remember. I remember seeing that in their new release section because it was like almost like, oh my God, it's finally available for order. Now, I don't remember if it was either late 80s or very early, like 91 or something like that. But I'm feeling like it was 89.
I bet you that this is it. I bet you I'm going to show you a picture, and it's the original one, and this is what you're going to remember as being the one you saw on your shelf.
Yeah, that's Jessica. Yeah, that's the one. I do.
That was the one.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's the one, yeah.
Now, that was the one that I ordered in the early 90s, like 1990, and I paid $89 for it. It only because it was in the back of a Fangoria magazine. It was advertised. Dario Argento's masterpiece Suspiria in the uncut letterboxed edition. That's what it said, and we were so excited. My friend and I split it, and we ordered the movie from the back of a Fangoria. So, but that's
Yeah.
how we were able to see it. Movies made in 77. We've been renting movies since freaking 84, and we were unable to see this movie, which we'd heard so much about in Fangoria, and just in Fangoria. Outside of us talking, there was nothing else. So you had Fangoria, you read it, you read the video reviews, you learned things that way and only that way. So, but that's the bottom line. You couldn't even find these things, and it was like 1990 at least, and then you said it in the 90s. So the outlet wasn't there. Like, I want to say House by the Cemetery for some reason may have been there. I remember that box in particular.
And it was gory, because that's what got me into. So I did have a little bit of love for Fulci, but I really didn't know much about him. Again, it was all through Chaz Bolin. I always think I'm fucking up his name, but like that writer, he was the one that like got me onto that, and that's what made me sought out like Italian horror. And so I saw, like I said, Gates of Hell, House by the Cemetery, and Seven Doors of Death, or whatever again it was called. That's what I saw back in the day. And I remember Manhattan Baby, but never rented it. Murder Rock.
Never even knew it existed until freaking the 2000s. Murder Rock.
But then again, I was kind of like you. I'm like, Murder Rock? That sounds stupid.
Stupid. Right.
So then I didn't rent it. So I had those hiccups or hang-ups a bit. And then over time, I'm like trying to be a completist, not from a collection standpoint, from a watching standpoint, with like rent or seek out. I do have a question. First off, I'll rate this. I'll say it's 8 out of 10 for me.
Oh, 8 out of 10? It's 7.5 for me.
Okay,
so,
perfect. So that's for House, sorry, not House, New York Ripper. But I want to ask, again, listeners, if you own the Blu-ray is a decent enough copy. I found it was like very saturated, or like very white. I don't know if that's just the print of the film, but I mean, it's doable, it's watchable. You know, when you have those scenes of murder that are in color, or the colors, they work. But there's a 4K of this. I want to find out if anybody owns the 4K. I think JP has it, but if anybody else has it that listens to the show regularly, chime in, tell me what you think the 4K looks like, because I'd be interested. It's very expensive, but if it's that's what I was going to add to you. What you were saying is, back then we thought it was a great time to be a horror fan. You had all these videotapes. Now is a fantastic fucking time to be a horror fan, because not only do we have the uncut versions of all those movies that were cut to shit back in the day, for the most part.
Right.
Some of them sneaked through, but we also have fucking 4K versions of them that are the best they've ever looked. I just can't believe I dropped that. That they've ever looked. And like, you just got to be like, I mean, you just got to be happy that we're able to get all this. And for movies like the New York Ripper, and like if they have at least Blu-rays, but the 4Ks are rolling out for almost everything. I'm not going to double dip for everything.
Too much.
No question. I'm saving the 4K. Like I said, some of my faves.
Yes. So. Someone or a movie that in particular is so well made that it's gonna really pop on 4K. That's what I can justify, but not everything. No, I'm not gonna go buy this and that just because it's there. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna be that much of a mark. That's insanity. I don't have that kind of money. Even if I did, I'm pretty happy with most of my Blu-rays and their quality. I'm gonna grab mine quick because I have a different one, and I want to make sure I'm right about it. So. Let me see my copy. It's probably upstairs, like the idiot that I am. Yeah, I think I left it upstairs. I think I left it up there. So, mine is the what do you call it? It's the Synapse. It's the 2K scan. It's where they remastered it, because they did the same thing with Maniac. First they came out with the 2K scan one, the you know what I'm saying, and then a year later they came out with the actual 4K.
Isn't it Blue Underground? I thought Blue Underground. Yeah, okay. That did. Yeah.
Yeah, it is Blue Underground. I said Synapse because it was in my brain because of the Tenebrae. Yes, it's the same thing with Maniac, Blue Underground, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So it's the same company. They did the same thing. And now I haven't heard anybody speak upon the New York Ripper, but all I have heard is just wonderful things. And I own it. I just haven't watched it yet because it's a 1980, so I'm going to watch it. About the Maniac 4K.
Maniac is awesome. Yeah.
Yes, and I think the Zombie as well which also was a Blue Underground. So it's a similar thing, and I've just heard that they're pristine. So if that's the case, I'm sure New York Ripper looks pretty damn good too. I gotta go to Blu-ray.com and look it up and see what they say about the 4K. But even though the 2K scan alone looked really good, it was, so I was pretty happy with it. That's fine. But funny enough, the 2K of Maniac, I didn't think looked as good. And I remember watching Maniac the remake and the original like within like a day of each other or something one day. And the Maniac from 2012 actually looked better, and it's just a regular Blu-ray, no 2K remastering or any of that stuff. So I remember saying, well, I'm glad they made the effort, and this Maniac looks better than it ever has before, but I think they still left something. There's more to be done here, and I guess they rectified that with the 4K itself. So I don't know.
See, I just realized the time, and we got to get into our next movie. But I do want to just mention, but just quickly before, did you see the list of 4Ks coming out this fall? We have Friday the 13th, which you already ordered. There's the Fog. There's Army of Darkness, which I know you don't want, but I can't wait for. And I feel like I'm leaving out. There was another one that was just announced. I mean, there's Poltergeist, but that was an import one, I think.
Oh, I can't wait though. Poltergeist is finally getting it. I've been asking for it for years. A 4K, a nice presentation. See, it's a Warner Brothers problem. Telling you.
Videodrome and Return of the Living Dead.
Return. Right.
Which I've got the beautiful. To be honest, I'm shocked. I was surprised to hear that they were doing that one in 4K. To be honest, I know they're going to do everything in 4K because I think the other one was a 2K scan and it looked good, but you could, start see like it looked really good, but you could start seeing the grain come through. So I always worry that pushing it to 4K, will it actually be an improvement or not? So it'll be interesting to see.
Are you talking about Videodrome or Return?
No, I'm talking about Return in this case.
Oh, okay. So the Return was a 2K scan, the last one that came out? I'm pretty sure I have it. I want to say it was Shout Factory? Scream, I should say?
Scream. Yep, it's Scream. It's mine's upstairs.
I'm looking right now. Because I don't think it was. I got to see here. Okay. This is what you're talking about.
I'll tell you right now, Hellraiser will be one that I don't think 4K will benefit because the 2K scan, I don't know, because the 2K scan introduced a shit ton of grain. Like it looks good, but I'm like, what more can they do to this movie now? So unless they can clean it up somehow.
I think they can clean it up. I think that's what it's about with 4K. I think they can clean it up. So anyway, this is what you're talking about, right? The collector's edition?
Yes. Yep, that one.
Yeah, I don't think it's 2K scan. It's just, let's see. Oh, hold on. I stand corrected. Disc 1. New 2K scan of the Interpositive.
Yeah.
I've watched it once, and I remember being blown away by it. But then again, I wasn't looking. I'll have to look and see again. It's been a minute.
It's one of my favorites. So again, Videodrome and that, like I'm double dipping. There's no question because they're both favorites.
Right.
But it's all about that. The price point was the Army of Darkness price point was astronomical. That I was seeing listed right now comparatively to like what Evil Dead 1 and 2 are selling for in 4K. But I love that movie, and I never did get the special edition Blu-ray of it, knowing that the 4K was coming out. So I just held off, and so I'm looking forward to it. It just I hope that the price comes down a bit.
Right, and it will. You just got to pay attention. You got to play that market, man. Just keep watching, and as long as they're not limited releases and they sell out, then there's a problem. That's the only thing you have to worry about. So.
Well, let's get into this. I'm sorry. I got to say, hey, look what I got for my birthday. Some things here. Just showing off because they're horror related. The novelization of Reanimator.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
And the novelization of
Fright Night. Wow, that's pretty cool, man.
I saw them on online, and my wife's always, "Can you just put stuff in your wish list, just so that I have things
I do.
That I can get you, so that I'm not wondering what to get." And she got me those and some 4Ks. So the 4K collection is starting to get impressive because again, I'm not collecting everything, but I'm collecting the ones that have, that I love, my favorites, and I guess like you said, the ones that have influenced that I just know I'm that I really enjoy, and that just I know are going to have the best version possible
Right on,
on
man.
4K. But
Well,
anyway,
here's my wish list. Here's my wish
yeah,
list.
shoot it to me.
It's like 6 or 7 movies on it. Breaking the Waves Criterion Collection, $32. That's why I'm not buying it. Dazed and Confused Criterion Blu-ray, $28. Star Wars Force Awakens 4K, $20. The Goonies 4K, $22. Willy Wonka 4K, $23. Scream 4K, that's down to 17 already, so that's kind of nice. The Krampus Naughty Cut, $30 for the 4K. Harry Potter 8 Film Collection, $94 for all of them.
Yeah,
Halloween,
that's crazy.
The 4K, the new one that came out from Scream, $24. That's my list. So.
Well, she got she got me the 4K
Nice.
Saw and the one you just mentioned.
Oh, sweet.
And that.
Oh, look at this. Scream, Krampus.
We have very similar wish list, but because again, Krampus I had in the Blu-ray, and it was a beautiful. I had all the extras and everything else. I'm looking forward to that because it's a Scream Factory one. I heard the Naughty Cut's not significantly longer by any means. Okay. But
whatever.
Hey, it's a favorite. It'll be on my list.
Right. Yes. No question.
So that was our I guess we'll call that segment what we got.
What we've got. Yeah.
What we're rubbing in that we got. Yes, sons of bitches.
Right.
Anyway, our last movie, without delaying us any further, and that was my fault because I delayed it longer, is Tenebrae, also from 1982, directed by Dario Argento. An American writer in Rome is stalked and harassed by a serial killer who is murdering everyone associated with his work on his latest book. Well, that's not entirely true.
Not everyone, right?
Yeah. And they're not necessarily related. Like, yeah, when you think about the people, the actual victims.
Right.
Yeah, that's weird. Anyway, that was from the B.
They're not fans of the book, but they are basically what are being described in the book, I suppose. As what's the word that used? Not genetics. Not what's the word? Deviants or something like that. People that engage in deviant behavior, something like that. I see this movie as Argento making a statement about his own critics and about his own work. We've discussed this with opera before. There was a few lines that happened in opera. We discussed it when we reviewed it way back when. I think he was just kind of doing that there, matter of factly, but I think this was like almost like the agenda of the film on top of having, writing a great story with, a couple of cool twists. The idea of people coming at him and calling him, a misogynist and this and that. And why do you have these deviant stuff and, why you're killing women? And that seems to be right. Same thing. Except this guy's an author. And he's like, well, wait a minute. And this guy's on the defense all the time. And it's great. And then he even takes a shot at the one guy saying that these people engage in deviant behavior. And the guy says, well, wait a minute. Who says this deviant behavior? He goes, the one guy is gay. But so what? He goes, he's perfectly happy. There's nothing deviant about him. And the other person is a psychopath. So yeah. but that's it. But he's saying, you're making, a homosexual man deviant just by nature. And this is 1982, and he's saying, well, he's gay, but so what? And people have recently critiqued Argento for some of his portrayals of gay characters in the Animal trilogy and stuff, and that they're effeminate and this and that, and maybe it's insensitive for the time, and he's poking fun. But see, I disagree. And the guy, and what I think. He always has quirky characters. If a man happens to be gay and a quirky character on top of it, but not a bad person, you're not making fun of him. Yes, he's quirky, but not just because he's gay. It's just another one of Argento's characters. I don't think.
And we said, I think we talked about this, whether it be the last time, but when we talked about Deep Red, because there's characters. He's always had those characters in there, and I think it's a positive thing. It's funny that a negative spin. And again, this is possibly woke culture. Again, I don't know the article. I don't know. This is why there should be a horror movie called Woke, and focusing on and how this could harm us more so than evolve us. But anyway, that's
that'd be cool.
I don't know if I don't think I'm smart enough to write that script without it just becoming like a target. and make me
Right.
be just spreading hate or something like that instead.
You have to insult both sides to make it even.
You never would. But I agree with you. I don't think and I think you're right. I think this was his response, and he did. And you used an author, a best-selling author that had a book of work just like he did to speak through. It's interesting that in that interview that I watched when he was doing the retro on Deep Red, that he left this one out of some of his favorite works, because I think this has emerged as a fan favorite.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I still seemingly I love it. I love it, but I've said that I put opera. When people ask me my favorite, I usually say Suspiria and opera for whatever reason. But this really does have everything else. It's got, again, he's rewriting this movie yet again, but with putting a twist on it. We've got the artist answering to his critics there, but we've got the Black Glove Killer. And in fact, again, because no one should be surprised that we're spoiling here, but I'll say spoiler just in case you've never seen this movie before. If you have Shudder, stream it on Shudder. I mean, there are places to see it. I think even Tubi has a lot of the Argento collection that are available sometimes. But anyway, there are two killers in this movie.
Yeah.
Two killers. And so the killer that is doing everything so that you can't suspect that it's who is shown to be the killer at the end of the movie, because it would make no sense because of the timing involved. That's how we get away with the first few murders of this movie, is that it's really an obsessed fan, if you will.
Yeah.
Critic, but fan, and has his own agenda, but ultimately obsessed with the writer and his works.
You know what? It's kind of like he's critiquing, like, the critics, like Siskel and Ebert type of guys at the time, who are saying this and this and it's trash and it's just about killing women and all that stuff, because we saw, all the things he said in the 80s, in the early 80s especially, which we're eventually going to get to on the Fangoria thing, but it started off this whole thing. It's just like, so it's almost like saying these people are just as bad. They're taking their stuff and they're actually killing people to get their message through that it's wrong to kill people. And you see this type of stuff in politics and in religion all the time. And you see people, casting aside things. So I'm going to commit murder. Murder is bad, but the murder I'm committing is justified because it's for this reason. So it's not really murder. It's more of cleansing the murderers. People put spins on things like that, and that's basically what this guy's doing. He doesn't like his work, right? Because it's inspiring deviant behavior and murder against women, yet he turns around and commits those same acts as if to frame this guy, the writer, or to prove that his work does cause crimes. But he's the guy committing the crimes. So you see this in real life all the time, where maybe not where they're killing people, but they're opposed to something, and then they start partaking in the same thing because they think that it's justifiable, because of the ends justify the means. That's the phrase right there, which is so wrong, right?
Oh, and that's cool. That's cool. I mean, in prep for this, I mentioned I watched the DVD and then I watched this. I didn't watch Unsane though. Again,
Never.
So that's the one I saw way back when on video, but they've included it in this cut. I just wanted to see what was cut out of it. But another thing that's great in this, although I heard some people critiquing it, is the gore and the kills. Again, you've got Argento in fine form here with the art of murder.
Yeah.
Where they're framed like, again, I'm not entirely sure why when someone hears a spooky voice, they like go, huh? Oh, well, I'm going to change my shirt. that was a little odd. Like, you hear the spooky voice, clear as day, saying something, and she freaked out by it. And her reaction is, okay, well, I'm going to continue to change. She takes off her shirt to put on a new one. But the reveal there is great because the razor comes and slices it open, which is, of course, that poster that you mentioned. And again, when we talked about
it's great.
The guy that got me into horror, or into Italian horror.
There you go.
From Deep Red Horror Handbook,
right.
Of course. and whatever.
great.
So like that's what it's an image that is it just is great because it splits the cloth, see her face reaction, blood splatters up, and it's still then she gets sliced again. Is she the one that goes through the window? Or am I confusing it?
That's the other one
And then the other girl gets
with the long hair.
Sorry, not the window, but the glass stair.
Yes. Right.
And then
other
falls back, which is the other iconic scene with her neck bleeding and the blood dripping down or whatever.
So that's two scenes. That entire shot, that entire sequence for 15 minutes is just the tracking shot, which leads to that. The tracking shot itself, work. Oh my gosh, is incredible, right? And
she's listening to the soundtrack.
Oh, and the soundtrack.
No, but is she listening to it? Like that's the funniest part.
Oh, she is.
That soundtrack,
which
and
is funny.
As it pans up, comes around, goes through all windows, look at all the windows, beautiful, beautifully done. And then she takes the record off, and that soundtrack stops.
That's it, because she even says, the other girl says it's too loud, lower it or something like that, and then you see that she's so she is actually listening to Goblin. Yeah. Which is pretty cool. When do you see that in a movie? You know what I mean? And it's not done comically. It's just a cool thing here. It's just like, look at that. That's what she happens to be listening to. But everything about that scene, the shot and the way it's set up, and it's just brilliant. And then both of those kills, that whole sequence is just, that makes the movie. I love that stuff. I love the dog chase scene. It might be, some people might think it's silly. I think that dog is freaking incredible. That he even thinks to do those things. It's crazy. Even the one when he backs up. When he backs up, it's like trying to get a running start to freaking get over the one. The dog actually has cognitive reasoning to do, which I believe is possible. I've seen my animals do things in my house where, like Lucky knows how to open doors with doorknobs. He knows what a doorknob does in the house. He knows what its purpose is. And when we go to bed, he jumps up and he whacks the freaking doorknob enough. He keeps doing it until it opens up, and then he goes into the bedroom and goes to sleep. He likes to sleep in that bedroom. That's where he slept when he was a little sick baby. So, but just to think about some of the things that animals do, I believe they could do that, because I've seen it with my own eyes. You can see them reason things out and like weigh things out and I don't know. So I believe it's possible.
And there's a lot of things that are done in Argento movies where, again, he'll explain it, but whether or not you're along with the ride, I could see some viewers being off-put or someone not getting it. And I'll give you an example here. Like, for instance, the description mentioned everybody involved with the book. Well, that's not really the case. It's not, but there's a lot of people that are involved in the writer's life that happen to come back. Like the daughter that helps him with the plumbing or the light and whatever that comes
the dog
in.
Girl. Yeah.
The jailbait, the dog girl. She sort of pops back up. Like kind of like there's no real reason why it needs to be her for the dog, but she also runs and happens to go in that one door that the dangling keys are at, gets in, just happens to all work out that way. Right. And if you really think a lot about it, you're like, well, that's a lot of convenience happening all at once there. But I'm willing to let it go because it's so well done. But there is a lot of that. And then she gets in there and she's in the lair of the killer. But so she's in the lair of the killer, and the killer was, he was trying to get rid of some of the evidence, right, initially, and then left, and then came back and caught her in there, and then continues on his way. Right.
It is a matter of, it's a convenient thing to have happen, but that happens in real life sometimes too. You ever hear like some story, it's in the paper or it's in the news or something, you're like, can you believe that this person just happened to go here and then as a result they were discovered? This happens all the time. You know what I mean? You hear about even killers. Yeah, killers sometimes are being caught by accident almost. You know, like the Son of Sam thing. He was caught because of a parking ticket. He doesn't go there. There happens to be a parking ticket there in that situation. Can you believe that's how he got caught? Same thing with the other killer, with Ramirez.
That was a real revelation. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
You see it happen. It's stranger than fiction, they like to say. Can you believe that this actually happened? That the coincidence? What are the odds? Because I say that a lot. What are the odds that this happened here and that led to this? If you think about it, it's pretty crazy to sit down and think about it. So I guess you could say that in a movie. What are the odds that she would happen to be chased to this house and happen to know the other killer? And it just so happened to be. And it just It's like two birds in one stone. But now we have a reason to follow this girl because she's been introduced. Let's see what's going to happen with her next. Now they're showing her, obviously, she's going to get killed because that's what happens. So let's see how and why. And then there you go, right to the house. They could have made it simpler. They could have just had the killer just be killed for some other reason. Because all it did was get eyes on that property. And then it got the other two guys to come and look, Peter Neal and then the other kid to come and look. That's what it was.
I guess also the reasoning or the way that the story allows for it is the fact that it's mimicking kind of like a thriller whodunit book. And so I think with those, you do get these conveniences or things that are thrown in based on the fact that they've got to throw the viewer off. So it's like a wink nudge to the viewer because we're actually living this in real life as well, which is no different than him bashing himself over the head with a rock to knock himself out or pretend to knock himself out, make him look bloody so that he's been knocked out. And really he's the second killer, the writer. Now, I didn't read I watched the special features. I didn't have enough time because I wanted to watch other things and I was painting, as I mentioned earlier. But ultimately, I want to know, has there been any explanation as to why it's spelled Tenebrae in the title card, but the book has the A in it?
I don't know.
Because I looked and it doesn't look like there's anything written on it. I looked really quickly, to be honest, but is it just, I know that and that spelling was linked more traditionally, I think, but then everywhere else, the book, how it's written on the actual book itself, is all with an A. And on
I've always wondered. Yeah, I'm with you.
On the actual box is with the A and everything else.
I've always wondered it too, because I know it's different on the book, and I've seen it spelled differently, and then the movie spelled this way. And I'm trying to think maybe it was a rights thing, but how could it have been? Because what would the Tenebrae be? Why would you have to do it different? Unless there actually was a book written that way, and for some other reason, and you didn't want to do it. But I always found it odd that the three mothers. I thought, this was based on one of them because there's mother. How is it pronounced? Tenebrium or whatever it is. It's one of the, so that's what, I'm saying. I always thought that it had to be when I first heard about this movie. I thought it was going to be another Three Mothers movie, because why would it be called Tenebrae? We got Suspiria based on Mater Suspiriorum, So why would we not have Mater Tenebrium be Tenebrae? You know what I mean? But it's not the thing. But it also does come from that. So it's weird. The whole thing is weird. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I never did either. Maybe again it was his play on that. Maybe because everybody suspected, like he did Suspiria, then he did Inferno. So is he following it up with the Third Mothers? And then so maybe it's his play again, being playful with his critics and being playful with the audience, and decided no, we're going to do a totally different route here for my next movie. Not totally different, because essentially it's Bird and Deep Red.
Right.
Redone again, but you know what I mean. Like
to
when
a
I say
degree.
redone, I mean again, essentially him remaking the first remake again, over and over again. Black Glove Killer on the loose, but again, he does it well, so why not? Like
for sure, it's different though. It's different. It has different reveal than those two does.
Of course, it's not like a scene for scene remake.
No,
but essentially a Black Glove Killer with, and this one, like there is a flashback that we get that plays out with some really dreamy music.
Yeah.
That's a very, very confused, but it's supposed to, like, they link it at the end saying that the writer was a present when a girl got killed. And maybe he was, well, not maybe. I think we're supposed to realize at this point, since it's played out throughout the movie, that it's very lucid, because we see it as the audience. Now, whether he's dreaming it, throughout or whatever, who knows? But visually, we see it as the audience. Right. And narratively, it only figures into the end when you talk about this murder when he was 16, that he was present at the time, but was never convicted of it. So murder is in his blood. And I guess, and he writes about it. So maybe that was his catharsis. And then when he saw the opportunity, he decided to act on it. But
which is funny, because if you think about what Argento's doing here in poking fun at the critics, he's ultimately kind of saying that they're right. Like this guy actually is writing this stuff, and he is a killer at the same time. So what's he saying about himself? You know what he's saying? Is it a wink at the end, or is it a confession? Maybe he killed somebody.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's a confession. Well, we'll find out maybe later in life,
Imagine
on
that.
his deathbed. John Saxon. We never mentioned John fucking Saxon
Right.
being in
He's
this.
great.
He's
Right.
great. I love how they go through the
Homer.
whole. The hat doesn't fall off. The hat doesn't
Yeah.
fall off, but then when he gets killed, the hat falls off.
Right.
That was just
Right.
kind of funny. But
Uh-huh.
I do like it because it is it's you. Like there's a realization of him knowing
Yes. There
the
is.
person that it stabs him. And again, I don't know. I guess they're trying to throw Jane as her name. Maybe give her a little bit of
Right.
it because she's had female
For
killers
sure.
before, so they're
Yep.
definitely trying to give her the red herring.
Yep.
She wears red shoes, so maybe there's that too. And it's
Yeah.
linked to the flashback too, because the
Correct.
girl wearing red shoes there too.
Shoes.
So there's
Yep.
some sort of they're trying to do a parallel or link there, but then you realize that her and John Saxon are lovers. And does he know about it? Did he know about it? Does he care? He doesn't seem to really care too much.
Until the end.
Yeah.
Which shouldn't even matter because he seems like he was kind of annoyed by her. She kept calling him, and he's like, "I'm just gonna hang up on you." And it almost seemed like they were headed for a divorce, which maybe they were, because when he has the discussion with Daria Nicolodi when they're hanging out, she spends that night with him, and he says, "Well, for the past 6 years, we never had a night together, all in 6 years." And they go, "Well, now we don't have Jane around to oppose or something like that." So it's almost like in the past we had Jane around because I was married to her. Now I'm not. That's what I took it as, like they were on the outs, the way he was talking to her and everything else, or that maybe she still wanted to be with him, but he didn't want to be with her. See, that's kind of the vibe I got.
They also gave a vibe that he was a womanizer because he's got this little crush on his assistant, but they only kiss. But then that other girl that comes in goes, "That's jailbait. That's jailbait."
Right.
But she automatically assumes something may have happened between them or something or whatever. And so he's almost like he's been brushed with this. I don't know. I get the vibe that he's got this womanizing. He's had some popular or some success, and he's popular. So it's maybe led to him having groupies. Do authors have?
I don't know.
Authors
Maybe
have groupies.
maybe he's just a smooth talker, and his secretary knows him as a smooth talker because she's seen him in action. So she just assumes, like when she shows up to that place and he sees a young girl leaving the apartment. Why else would a young girl be in his apartment? Even though it's jailbait and she's 17, if you're thinking that, if you go someplace and you see that, that's really what you're in a hotel. What are you going to think, that she's there repairing something? That's the last thing you think she's doing.
The other thing that throws off Jane, just no differently than it throws off him from being the killer, is they're both in New York or wherever at the beginning. So no one can get to Italy in record time to do that first killing, which is fine because it's neither of them. But just the fact that she's painted as a red herring is odd because she is in New York at the airport calling them from that payphone.
You're right.
As they smash the bag. That's why I always remember the ending. When I first got back into watching it, watched it for I think the 22 Shot show. I'm almost positive it was for that show, and whatever. I hadn't watched it in a long time,
right?
And so I actually remembered the reveal. I remembered that the end, but I forgot about the duplication of the second killer. Don't know why I did, but I did. So then when I'm watching the movie, I'm like, well, it can't be him though, because he's in New York or on flight at this time. So what? Right. And then I'm like, oh, as I'm watching it, and there's back then I'm like, oh fuck, okay, well that explains it. But no differently than Jane can't be a red herring really, because she's in New York with them too, on the phone. Right. So she comes to Italy on the next flight, I guess, because she's in Italy shortly thereafter. But they establish her
right
there. I guess it's to see John Saxon, as we realize that they're meeting for lunch and having these little rendezvous or whatever. Right. But again, like any murder mystery, it keeps you kind of guessing, and I guess that's the playfulness of it. And they answer everything, and there's some decent gore. I mean, when that girl gets her fucking arm cut, when Jane gets her arm cut,
oh, it's great,
and it paints the wall red.
Right.
Phenomenal.
I agree. Phenomenal. I think he did that on purpose too. I think he said, "Okay, you think I'm doing this stuff to women and everything else, and now I'm going to show you what I can really do with her. And I'm going to go over the top a little bit with this climax of this woman,
Yeah.
and let's have her blasting freaking red all over the place like it's a samurai freaking movie or something,
Yeah.
Which is the only time he's done that, is in this. We don't see an original kill that way. You do see some artistic kills and different ways it's done, but with all that spray like that, man, that's
I think it was art, but in a different way. I think it's like an artist spraying his canvas. And I guess again, it'd be a direct commentary on him saying that art is murder, and so he literally made art murder or murder art there with her death blood or her arterial spray shooting aerial spray, whatever the fuck I'm saying here, shooting the wall and literally painting it like a canvas.
Yeah, man. Oh, it's great, man. And all the kills are pretty solid. The axe kills all look good. The tearing of the flesh when you see it. The ones we talked about earlier, and the first girl too. How did that girl go? The
straight
shoplifter
to her throat.
Yes.
Exactly like that. And the book stuffed in her mouth.
Right. Yeah. Of course. How could I forget that? Yeah. So that's good. And that girl, Elsa, Mamma Mia. She's been in a couple of his movies, actually. She pops in and out. She was also in, what do you call it? She was in, was it City of the Living Dead or was it The Beyond? Or it was one of those, honestly. It could have been anything. She played the babysitter or something like that. But she was there. She was in Inferno. She was in something else. Very pretty. I'm thinking, this guy. When she hooks him up and he busts her in the beginning, she's like, "Hey, I could stop by your apartment." I'm thinking, I don't know who could refuse. I don't know.
Well, yeah, take the book. You're on your way.
Couldn't have that job. I'd get in trouble. I know I would have.
How the killer gets killed at the end is interesting because when there's this artistic structure in the house. I don't know. They should have done something to make it feel like it gave more weight, or because it looks like it moves at one point. It looks like it's practically tinfoil, and then suddenly she opens the door, a piece of it falls off, and literally impales right through him.
I love it
with such velocity that you'd figure it fell from a skyscraper, but no, it falls 5 feet and goes right through him, razor sharp right through him. But I'm willing to forgive it.
That's fair.
It's chrome, and he's trying to pull it out, but his blood, and it's just slipping off of his hands. He can't get like a doorknob, like you're all buttered up from popcorn, or something, and you can't open up a doorknob. His blood is making it so he can't actually grasp it to try to pull it out. It's beautiful, and then she just screams and screams and screams to end the movie.
What an ending. Yes. Oh, it's great. And I never thought about it being such a short distance for those pipes to travel.
It literally goes like right through him.
Right? I never thought about it.
She opens the door. I mean, I get it. She opens the door. It tips it over. This piece is, I guess, too heavy for its own good. Shoots out, but fires across. Not even that far, but right through him. Like, if anything, it's going to do this. Fall off. Maybe dead them, maybe bruise them, maybe make them bleed. It hails right through them.
It's amazing. So, okay.
But I love it.
This is it with this movie. Okay, so let me ask you this. This is what we're led to believe. So, he decided to kill the other people. He didn't find out that there was an affair until after he killed the killer. And then he had no choice. And then he said, I'm going to kill them anyway, so I'm just going to make it look like maybe the killer was still alive when this happened or something or other. Because it wouldn't have made sense. If he wanted to have this pinned on this killer that's in the area, why would he then go ahead and kill the killer? You would think that he would kill them before he killed the killer, so it looks like, okay, these are just 2 more victims. But if he takes the killer out too early, that would go against his whole plan of killing the cheating couple. So all I can do is believe that he didn't find out about them cheating until after he took out the actual killer. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense.
I think you're probably right, because I think at that point where it's less about his story and him writing a murder mystery, even though they worked that into the plot, and now it's convenience for us, the viewer, to watch. and everything else, because right at that point, it can't be him because we know someone died while he was in flight, and then they put this guy of interest in, and he gets killed, and then you find out he was the killer, but the killings are still going on. So then it's got to be, is it Peter at this point? I forgot. It's got to be him at this point. Peter. And now it's all that, I guess, him killing the guy snapped something in his brain, and all this years of suppression had him continue with the killing spree, and just go that way, and he's insane, and that's
fair. I just wanted to run it by you. He's insane, yeah. Like that movie. Oh, there is another one called Unsane, came out in like 2018 or 19 or something, right?
Shot on an iPhone, yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one. But so I just want to run that by you. So you agree with that. That makes sense. That's the way it played out. Because the viewer, us as the viewer, don't even find out that they're having an affair until after that kill happens anyway.
No, and it's such a weird reveal. It seems so Hitchcocky. Like, I watched it, I was like kind of laughing almost. It's like he leaves, and then she comes out. It's like you're just waiting for the dun 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 dun. It seems so soap opera-y in that moment. They don't put that stinger on. You're almost expecting to hear it, but the reveal of her coming out and him looking at her and them coming in for the kiss is like right out of a soap opera. You're just like, what? Okay, all right, so they're cheating, but he showed no interest in her before, so who gives a fuck?
Right.
Like, there should have been some more dialogue or something that, hey, Jamie can work on this, or something else. Like, who gives a fuck at this point? So it's almost like, okay, so they're seeing each other. Oh, well, I guess it's not good form, but he was like, I'm just going to hang up on you, Jane. I'm just going to hang up on you. Like, whatever. Like, he seems like he's so disinterested in her, which maybe is why they're having marital, woes. I don't know.
I don't know, but that's why I question some things in the movie. When I question a couple of things, I can only go so high. That's what I'm saying. And the other thing, which is more funny than anything, but he just so happened to have that razor with the thing that spit out the blood on the off chance he got caught by somebody. And it was like a last ditch thing.
No different than the Manicarino, like in opera. Again, like he went out of his way to get it so that he could fake his own death.
Just in case.
But again, a murder mystery. Again, you keep the audience guessing, but. And man, was there a lot of blood stored in that thing, because he sliced his neck with it. Then the guy comes back and then squeezes it and it's shooting out.
Right?
So I'm like, wow, there's a lot of blood in that. I had one of those knives when I was a kid, and barely anything came out of the thing.
Yeah, I want one. I want one like his right now, because I want to pull that trick on somebody at some point in my life. I think that would be incredible to do that.
Yeah, horrifying for the person, but incredible for you.
If I did it, I would have felt that they deserved it. It would have something where I really got pushed to the limit, and I wanted to really teach them a lesson.
Would you shatter their windshield first before you did it with a sledgehammer?
Yeah, that's what I'll do. If my wife decides if I ever divorce my wife, that's what I'm gonna do. That's gonna be the last straw, because I'm gonna decide. Let's say I know that she's deciding it, or I have decided to divorce her. On that day that happens, I'm going to do that freaking thing with that thing and pretend I'm slitting my throat right in front of her, and lay down and then get up like a minute later and say, oh, well, just kidding. How do you like that? That'd be funny.
Yeah. But you're right. He just has that. Again, it's great. It's playful. It's fun. I mean, I like it. I mean, it's one of those things that when you just, in retrospect, but that's what Argento does. I mean, that's kind of like part of his trademark in a sense, having these kind of crazy finales and everything else, but it keeps you guessing, and the framing of when the detective is standing there and he goes down to pick up the knife only to see the killer standing right behind. Beautiful.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, I love that. It is beautiful, man. Yeah, it's really well shot in so many ways in this movie. I mean, you can't take that away from it. It's you got the Animal trilogy, and you got Deep Red, and you got this, and you got 5 just well made, jolly. It's out of control. They're great movies. So, well, okay. What did you give Deep Red? Isn't that weird that we had 2 shows in a row with Argento, and this show happened to be all Italian? Argento and Fulci.
I think I gave Deep Red 8 out of 10. Okay. And I give this one 9.5. I think I just hold that half point off just because of the fact that there is some questionable things that that are. I still thoroughly enjoy the movie and sometimes can forgive things, but there is a little just something there that I'm not giving the perfect score to.
No, that's fair. I get it. I have that's what all my 9.5s are about. Just something, right? And for me, it's a 9. It's a 9 out of 10 for sure.
Oh,
And
nice.
honestly, yeah, I have opera as probably a 9, and most of his are
Yeah.
9 that are high up, and then our Suspiria is my 10, and then Deep Red, I said 9.5. But honestly, Deep Red or Tenebrae, it could all go by my last visit with it. You know what I mean? They are just that
That's
closer.
it. Yeah. And I think that's a testament to the fact that they again have rewatchability factor to them.
Yeah.
They're beautifully made. There's art, like where I'm going with it. There's some beautiful women in this, and there's some nudity in this too. But if you compare these two, made in the same year, the ones that we did tonight, Tenebrae and the New York Ripper, which make a great double bill, by the way.
Yeah.
You'll definitely see New York Ripper has sleeves all
Indeed.
over it, and Tenebrae is definitely more art. There's no question. You can't. Right. I don't think anybody can argue against it. I'm not saying there's no art to the New York Ripper. I'm just saying it's definitely its main focus is sleaze and exploitive nature and the kills and everything.
Yep.
And Tenebrae has nudity, has violence, but it definitely is brushed with art. There's more of a cinematic art to it.
Can't be helped with Argento. He just has that flair. His stuff is artistic. It's just the way it is, you know. So, but that's why I love his stuff. I don't know. That could be that's one of the reasons, you know. But anyway, 1983, right? We got to come up with a 1983. A quick little thing here because pickings are slim. We may be able to just look right now and come up with 5 movies. Because
we were talking about. We knew we were doing it. Cujo came up.
Cujo, we see. Yeah. We've done so many others. We've done Videodrome. We've done Sleepaway, Christine, Psycho 2. What else is there?
We've done
the Dead Zone. Mausoleum. How did we do Mausoleum?
Oh, that was the other one. Mausoleum. We did Mausoleum. We didn't do Mortuary. That was it. So we've got Cujo. We've got Mortuary. What was the other one that Johnny Newpants mentioned to us? Because he said it was. Oh. I don't know if we can get away with it though, because again, from a retrospective factor, we always take the year it's made, as opposed to the year it was released. So, because he was arguing that one of them was considered 82, usually talked about 82, but it was officially released in 83. Which one was that?
The Entity.
The Entity.
That's what
I don't know. That will be a tough call because we have talked about it in small, I think, quickly. But I don't know if we can get away with that because I really do believe we'd have to follow the 82 standpoint.
Yeah, we've already done it. Plus, it was something that a patron picked. So it wouldn't be right for us to do something that 82 and then and wedge it into 83. You know what I mean? I think that's just it. I just think it makes sense not to. So, but there's Twilight Zone, the movie. There's the Deadly Spawn. Yeah. So we've already done this. So now it's almost we're gonna have like a part 2. So if you had a movie that didn't make the first vote, then now's your chance. We could put, I don't know, it probably won't be nearly as much movies. There's probably only gonna be like 5.
We'll put like 5 or 6 to choose from the top 2. I don't mind doing that. I like doing that. I think we said it was gonna be Deadly Spawn, Mortuary, Cujo, and I already said Deadly Spawn. I'm already going through. I can't even remember the other ones that were.
Well, there's Twilight Zone. There's a couple of slashers. Mountaintop Motel, Sweet 16.
Oof.
I don't mind because they're slashers. I don't mind because they're slashers. I can always watch them.
Mount Motel has a little bit to it. Sweet 16, I just remember it being fucking brutal. But I think we've done Curtains. I feel, I don't know why, but I feel like we've done Curtains because we've talked about it enough.
Huh. There's Blade in the Dark, more Italian horror. Boogeyman 2. You know what I mean? So we'll probably come up with like 6 that we'll agree on, and we'll put it up really soon.
Yeah, well, that's what we'll do instead of just listing off a bunch more for 5 more minutes.
Right.
I just hit my mic stand again. I have to do it. Well, listeners, we don't know when Brandon's going to come back. We hope he's doing well. We will keep you posted. But Yeah, I hope you're enjoying the show still. I mean, we're getting positive feedback, so
Yeah,
we'll
true.
keep doing what we're doing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if someone thinks we should add more guests or something, and you want to speak up on it or something, that's one thing. But I don't know. We're enjoying it. It seems like you're enjoying it, so I don't know. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Doing what we got to do. We're gonna probably have some more discussion with Brandon about what's happening moving forward because it's been a little bit. So
Right.
we don't want to put any pressure on the boy, but we got to figure something out because I'm really concerned about the top 200 because it can't just be me reading it and then Christian responding. You got to have more than just that. It has to be a
Yeah.
3-man show. There's no question that show has to be at least 3 people on it. So anyway, and speaking of the top 100, get your stuff in. Just don't take it crazy seriously. It's not that hard. Just sit down, take freaking 1 day to think about it, maybe 2, write it out. 100 for your best. The more points, the better. And just come up with 100 movies. Who cares? Just get it out there. We just want to get as many as we can get. I'm excited about. We're excited about. I want to add it up. I don't want this to be, I want to have close to what we had last time with submissions. So we got to get there. We really want to get there. So just do that. Oh, and people have been asking. So I'll say this: send it to email explodingheadshorrorpodcast@gmail.com. Send it there, or just message it to us directly in the Patreon page, or on the you can send it to me on Facebook, and if you're in the Messenger, and that's it. So it's real easy to do. Just get on there, and it's gonna be worth it. It's gonna be a fun show. So
Yeah.
But yeah, gotta go. It's party time. It's summertime. I got a picnic to go to. I'm sure Christian has things he has to get to. So
Painting.
painting again. All right. Painting the roses red. Anyway, what movie?
Paint the wall red, just like Unsane.
Right, exactly.
Just
You
gonna
know
keep
what
going
that is
with
though?
Unsane.
That song?
Which one was it? Sorry.
We're painting the roses red. We're painting the roses red. Excuse me, please, but Mr. 3, why must you paint them red?
Why? I know it, but I can't. Tell it to me, and I'll see if it's what I was
I'll give you a
rumbling
hint.
around in my head.
One more hint. They would surely lose their head. Since this is the thing they dread, they're painting the roses red. So they're going to get
Alice
their
in
head.
Wonderland?
Yay! I knew that would work.
So,
Alice in Wonderland. Yes.
That's not what was going through my head when you were first saying it, but then your hint gave it to me. So
Off with their head. Right. Awesome. One of my favorite movies. I don't care what anybody thinks. I adore that movie. Anyway, and I adore you guys, and you too, C. And thanks so much for joining us here and having a blast. And next year will be 1983. Well, next show will be. I wish next year would be. Shoot, just go back in time. And next show will be 1983, year of the year. And then we might even have a BS episode this month if we're able to get a third show out. And if not, we'll just keep doing this. Whatever. We're playing it by ear, having fun. So anyway, thanks
sounds
again.
good. Yes.
Much love.